So, here we are. We've been talking about a lot of stuff. I've been kind of just pouring out a bunch of different things that, if you just jumped in the middle of the stream, you'd think, what is going on here? I thought this is a tarot channel, right? Or I've jumped from numerology over to I Ching, over to Hermeticism, over to, all these different ideas, the Christian doctrine, and, all this stuff. And why do we do that? Like, why? One of the reasons that I think is a good way to investigate a situation is to look at it from different sort of knowledge systems, different language systems, right? And when you do that, it's a much better way to get a good critical eye, kind of looking around every angle of the circumstance. And another way to look at that is to look at a story from different religious perspectives, different philosophical perspectives. Lauren, hello, how's it going? And, it's important that we are able to find these commonalities whenever possible, because it seems to point towards some kind of truth, right? I have some very major announcements to make during this stream today. I'm going to be making some very major changes to both my life, the channel, and sort of the direction of what we're doing here. And so I'm just going to let the stream build up a little bit, and then I'm going to kind of talk about some fun stuff, and then we're going to go from there into, the normal subject matter that we go through here on the channel. Tarot Talk. Notice I don't have a title today, or Order in the Vortex, Meet the Courts, right? Usually there's a nice, snappy little title that is poetically connected to the information, and I didn't do that today for a specific reason. That'll become more clear over time. And so, Lauren, first of all, how's it going? Guess whose birthday it is today? Ed Sullivan. True story. Today's Ed Sullivan's birthday. Obviously, he's not still alive, but true story. Today, Ed Sullivan was born. So that's a good fact for everybody out there. I don't know if everybody knows anyone with a birthday today. You know who else was born today? Benny King. That's right. Benny King was born today. So, that's what a list of names. Hilary Duff, actress, very cool. All right. That's more of a common person, right? Benny King goes back a ways. Those of us with taste know who he is. Ed Sullivan. What did he do? He brought us the Beatles, man. Ed Sullivan is the reason that everybody knows who the Beatles are in the U.S. Although people were excited before they got here, he's the one who put them in front of everybody. And there's one very special person whose birthday it is today, which I'm going to talk about during today's Tarot Talk. And so stick around for that one. The Order in the Vortex as well is going to be interesting today. We're going to be speaking a little bit more about this algorithm I keep talking about, right? And it's really a simple way to look at a situation. It's the idea of opposites and counter opposites, and the goal of it to find that truth, right? Because I've spoken before about answers and seeking answers. What is seeking answers? Asking questions provides answers, and answers can be right or wrong. Answers are fallible. Answers are, if you're anyone who's taken the SAT knows, right? There's several choices and only one of them's correct, and that's sort of the reality here. And then we're stuck, having to decide: do I believe in this? Do I not? Let me look at what I think I know and look at the evidence in front of me, and it becomes this kind of like constant kind of battle between what you want to believe and what your eyes show you, right? And so, it's a little different circumstance when we have some different tools to investigate that, and that's a very powerful way to do that. And I've mentioned it multiple times here that it can be applied to pretty much anything. In fact, anything. Some things it might be a little difficult to apply to, because what it's designed to do is to whittle the thing down to its actual truth. And so it's very good at taking very high level complex ideas and breaking them down to a level that a child can understand, right? But when you're looking at super small ideas, sometimes it takes big words to do that. But that's only for the people in the outer order, and we're going to talk about what that means, right? The lies told openly. Meet the courts. This is something that I'm going to be revealing today as well. And I took notes. And it refers to the actual work that we're doing here. What is the tarot? Why do we use it? And a lot of the answers to that are going to come from the Tarot Talk segment today, but also in the Meet the Courts, we're going to discuss the practical application of this technology, of the technique of using the cards toward a specific goal. And that goal is not to answer questions, right? And then Our Beautiful Soul, which is a segment that I always like to end on, because we can get pretty heavy and move in between the head and then into the heart and then into the body, and then so I'm flipping around all the chakras, right? We like to land at a nice spot, which is in the middle, where we're all kind of on the same page there, and that's what the goal is of this particular segment today. So stick around for that as well. And the goal is going to be through this whole process is the idea of instilling a certain truth in you, because the reality is that some things, and I've said this, I've repeated it over and over for most of my life, some things can't be taught. They can only be learned. And what that means is that you have to come to the conclusion on your own. You have to come to the realization on your own. So we can point you in the direction, and then you are responsible for sort of growing that idea and coming to that enlightenment. And that's really what it is. That's the goal of what we're trying to do here, is to lead the mind and heart so that they land in the same place. And when they do so, we have this unique opportunity, right? We have this possibility where we can hear truth. So we're not getting answers anymore. And when we're in that state, it's much easier when you are presented with the truth told openly for it to just, if you tell the truth told openly to somebody in the outer order that's used to hearing the lies told openly, you sound like a lunatic. If you tell the truth told openly to the people in the inner order, where the truth is told in secret, suddenly they can put those puzzle pieces together through that conversation, right? And that's how you find this. The enlightenment is not a journey or a destination. It's a conversation. And that's what we're trying to do here, is to lead the conversation so that you have this experience on your own. It's the only way it can happen. And so I talk about crafting the key to the inner sanctum. That's fancy, beautiful, poetic language for the fact that if you're in the inner order, you get to step right in. Once you have this enlightenment, the door opens for you. We craft the key. And then we talk about the fact that there's a beautiful magic in that even people in the outer order who are used to hearing the lies told openly can come to that conclusion on their own. And then the most beautiful truth is that this truth can come to you regardless of any training, of any understanding that you thought you had. And some people come to it in an intuitive way and don't even realize that they know the truth until that puzzle piece is put in, and then they just pop. And so we're going to kind of speak to each one of those minds with the intent of, hopefully, if we're successful, finding that place, right? Finding that place where the conversation can happen by yourself. And that emerges in your mind and your heart at the same time. And that's what we're trying to do here. So that said, there's a very special person that I'm going to talk about today with respect to the Tarot Talk. And it's their birthday today as well. And it goes back to my youth. I spent a lot of my youth with my grandparents. My father worked strange hours, right? He was a waiter when I was growing up, and he spent a lot of time working restaurant hours, and so he wasn't around a lot, And then as far as social life is concerned, as you know, if you work hard like that, you steal every moment you can. And so very, very graciously, my grandmother offered my father we'll watch the kids, so to speak. And so I spent a lot of time in my youth at my grandparents' house, and she had a series of books. They were white. They're about this big, and each book talked about a person in history, Louis Pasteur and Jackie Robinson and Marie Curie and all these people, right? And each little story, pictorially in a way that was consumable by a child, told the story of this person. And one of the stories that was told led me to this truth when I was very young, that some things can't be taught, they can only be learned, and that the information that you're reading is not there to teach you something, but there to elicit a response of you coming to that fact. And there's a very special person out there that taught that way, and today is their birthday. And so I wanted to highlight this person because it's also important. What I'm trying to do is both teach and learn at the same time, right? I want to learn. I want to be receptive to new information, to new perspectives, and I've bumped into some great stuff reading the chats and having interactions with email and talking to people, and it's really it's pretty cool to have that interaction. And so I get to be the student, and I get to be the teacher when somebody comes with a question or comes with a perhaps a misunderstanding that I can turn some light onto with that intent. And so teachers and students are a big part of this whole process, right? Like the Messiah and the disciple, the sage and the seekers, and this type of language. And today is Teachers Day, but it's not Teachers Day here in America specifically. It's Teachers Day in a very specific part and region of the world. And the reason that it's Teachers Day is because of one of the world's greatest teachers. There's a lot of different gifts that we've been given, okay, with respect to disseminators of truth in our world, and the fact that we have the capacity to entertain their mind is such a gift, because they have the ability to communicate. Some people can just speak the truth in a way that you just get, and you don't have to. You don't need a dictionary, and you don't need some type of training to get to that truth. And whenever these people come into our lives, we need to revere that. We need to share that. And that's one of the reasons I chose this person for today's Tarot Talk. So let's just take a look at how the stream is going really quickly. I know I've had internet trouble that's been intermittent throughout the past week or so, where streams are dropping frequently, and I'm not 100% sure if the stream is still going, or if it reconnected and dropped everybody. And so I just want to peek on where we are, and it looks like we have a decent level of health. So it looks like the stream is going good. Okay, there's just a couple of people I want to kind of pop in before I continue. And one of them's already here. Lauren, it was very important that you were here tonight. It's important that Uncle is here tonight. It's important that Missy's here. There's a few people that I really want to be present for this. And if you are here, just let me know. I don't have, unless there's a way that you know of, I don't have a way to know who's here without you letting me know in the chat. And so it'd be nice to just know that you guys are here. And that said, there's this box on my desk, and this box is a very special thing that we're going to be talking about tonight. Okay, it's a box that I wound up picking up at a yard sale quite some time ago. And as you can imagine, being somebody who deals with tarot decks and little doodads and things like little crystals or maybe coins or these types of things in my work, it's nice to have little receptacles and little, ways to store and to carry and utilize. And so what this is my little toolbox. And what this is also representing is the kit that's going to be the culmination of this work. Because what we're trying to do here is to, there are many systems for waking up to the one truth. And some are more effective than others. The idea of Taoism and the I Ching is probably the most effective, but the least accessible from the Western mind. It is so pure and true. However, the Western mind, due to the way that we are kind of trained in Neoplatonism, and we're trained in Pythagorean, and we're trained in, we have a different level of thinking that is kind of lower than the purity of some of these basic concepts that are really the foundation for our understanding of what I'm presenting here. It evolved into things like Kabbalah. It evolved into things like Rosicrucianism, this basic concept, which is so simple it could be illustrated using two dots. yet from those two dots is literally the birth of all human knowledge. And so there's a truth in that. And what we're trying to do here is to elicit a response. And so when I consider the different bodies of knowledge, my personal experience in coming to the truth, there were a number of different ways I tried to get to that truth in my life. And so when I found the way and felt like it was a way that can be shared on a mass scale, and you can, in your own experience, in your home with some, basically these cards that walk you through this story, the goal is by the end of your working with these cards, you will know this truth, and then there's no going back. You're transformed forever. And so the idea is this kit that I talked about, which contains some parts related to this specific spread that was designed over 20 years with the intent of eliciting that response. Can you use it to look at the future? Sure, but that's not what it's for. What it's for is to looking at literally who you are, not who you think you are, at the level of your personality in this costume you wear. This is like higher level you, the you that always was, the you that always will be. Not the you that you pretend to be and forgot you're pretending, right? So what we're trying to do is to wake you up to the one truth, and it can't be taught. So that said, I'm going to move forward, and we're going to talk about before I jump to the tarot talk, I wanted to open with maybe some things that might sound a little strange, and so bear with me. Might sound a little shocking, and that's okay. I first want to start with this one statement. Let's say you're standing outside on a sunny day, right? And the sun's like kind of lower in the sky, and it's casting like big shadows, right? Like the trees have big shadows and whatever. And you're standing on the road and you're looking out away from the sun toward the night that's coming up, right? And you can see your shadow on the ground. Do you look at the shadow and think it's another person? So just to be clear, you're standing there looking at your shadow. Do you think that shadow is another person? I don't. Obviously, that's my shadow. And what is that shadow? So, that said, there's a couple of things that I'm going to be changing about the channel here. And one of the things that I'm going to be changing is kind of the format of the categories and how I'm going through the order. Notice again today that I didn't put any specific titles with respect to the talks. It's really just going to be a little more freeform. Right, I went through this very specific kind of calculated method of why I was revealing what and when, and it's very specific to the steps and the technique of this work in order to elicit this response. And that was there for whoever was ready to receive that, to just get it right away, and to more importantly have a record on YouTube that anyone can then go to and watch again or share with people, whatever the case. But really the point here is to have this kit ready so that it can be utilized to bring you to that realization. And it's a combination of Kabbalah, Tarot, I Ching, all these different bodies of knowledge built into this one little kind of elegant system that's really based on the union of these ideas in book form, information, and then into a tactile device that you can use to tell the story. You can move the cards to see the story evolve over time. It's very powerful for that. But that is playing with your toys. Because one of the things I've said multiple times, Missy, how you doing? Thanks for popping in. I'm glad to see you. The goal, and I've mentioned it before, of this, the end game of this channel is to maintain the integrity of the art of tarot. I take that seriously in my own life, and I want to try to instill that in others, because if the art dies in its form, it will lose the goal of why it was created, and we can't let that happen. Because the reason that the tarot was created is the same reason that I created this deck and this whole system. The whole system is designed to elicit that response. Now, people use it for fortune telling. They use it for insight. They use it for perspective, and it's valuable for that. It's a beautiful system of the elements, of the mind, body, soul kind of combination, right? There's all these different ways and vocabularies and languages that we can access using the tarot as a device for the divinatory process, which I call interrogating your universe, but that's from the lower level. That's from down here. It has no use up there. And if your goal is to know yourself, you only need one spread one time. And once you've done that, you now know the truth. And once you know the truth, you can apply that truth to your entire life, to every observable phenomena. Apply the knowledge that you know, the idea of I have names for it, the order, the vortex, the algorithm. These are just words that are pointing at this way to examine your world to provide insight. But once you have that insight, you see it everywhere automatically, and so you don't need the cards any longer. And so one of the things that I've decided to do is I'm going to be giving away my entire tarot collection with the exception of 3 decks. And the purpose of that is to internally maintain the integrity of the art. I'm not teaching the same method any longer. The method I'm going to be teaching will give you access to use the cards to do readings. So if there's any readers out there or people interested in becoming a reader, anything that I'm teaching moving forward with tarot will benefit you greater than anyone out there that's teaching you how to read cards. Because once you know the truth, you can use it to read cards, but they're not going to teach you the truth. There's a few out there doing it. Milo DuQuette's one of those people. And he's my, know it or not, he's my mentor. He has no idea who I am. That said, there's a couple of people out there doing it the right way. And what I mean is that the tarot, and I've mentioned it before in earlier streams and as a throwaway, and that was on purpose. The fact here is that it's not designed, wasn't meant to be used for that purpose. It was meant to be used as a way to elicit in you the truth. Yeah, there's probably, and on YouTube especially, there's one that I found, and that's Milo DuQuette, you know, and because he works on Kabbalah with the intent of eliciting this response. And now he's great, he's a great toy maker. He's got a lot of good techniques for reading and some other stuff that are fun, and his book is this book here, Understanding Aleister Crowley's Thoth Tarot, is a great book that everybody who is interested in understanding the Thoth system should get. He did all the work, right? This is kind of like Crowley's, but this is the truth told openly, and Crowley's Book of Thoth is the truth in secret, right? And, you know, Milo DuQuette, he gets his information from another source as well, which is a mystic who is very deeply connected with the Kabbalah, Rabbi Ben Lamed. Rabbi Ben Lamed knows the truth and has this beautiful way of communicating it poetically as well. And so, you know, that's a source that I can say, if you want to explore this information, and I've planted the seed, which is all I'm trying to do here. I can't teach you anything anyway, so for me to try is like banging my head against a wall. But if I have planted that seed, but I haven't had the opportunity to wake you yet on a personal level for whatever reason, or here on the channel, that's a good resource as well, and I'll be providing information on that in the future. But with respect to me giving away my deck collection, there's a reason for that, because in order to maintain the integrity of the art, I need to show people the truth, which is that you don't need a bunch of decks. It's not about the art. The art matters. You have to have a connection with it. And as a reader, I'm going to do that. I'm going to have something that's accessible to the person I'm reading, but what they won't know, and none of you have known, is all the readings I've ever done have been with the intent of you opening up to this truth. I read the cards properly. I'm not making up the meanings. Don't get me wrong. I'm reading the cards properly. And you guys know that. Uncle, you needed to be here. Everyone that needs to be here is present in the room. And so I can finally begin. So, I'm giving away all my tarot decks to anybody who works with me on this this spread. Okay, it's a very powerful tool. The intent here is to approach it from a couple of different angles. The people who are in the room right now, we have a musician, we have somebody who's an encyclopedia of information related to mythology, connections within astrology. Just basically has different connections of different bodies of knowledge and has drawn the lines. Kindred. And we have somebody. Happy birthday, Lauren. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. To who? To you. Happy birthday to you. Ladies and gentlemen, Lauren Zapata. Happy birthday. How awesome is that? How awesome is that? What year were you born? That's right. Tell everyone how old you are today, Lauren. Go ahead, pop it in the chat. I'll wait. In the meantime, there's another thing that I want to do here. Several people who have joined the channel just through my conversation, I am aware of the fact, has entered the inner order. There's the outer order, the lies told openly. Anyone who jumps on my channel and watches, you don't need to subscribe, you don't need to comment, you don't need to do whatever. You get your lies open for free. A few of you have taken the step of entering the inner order. The inner order is the truth and secret, and I've been speaking very specifically to everybody about that, and I'm going to be speaking specifically to everybody who's in the room right now in the chat, one-on-one individually, to share this knowledge. And each one of you is getting a tarot deck. Lauren's getting 2 because of her birthday. You're getting the Tarot of the Abyss, and you're getting the Light Seer's Tarot, okay? They're on the way. All I got to do is earn the money to send it to you. I'm broke and I don't have it. Sorry, it's true. But as soon as I have a couple of bucks, I'm going to send both decks to you, along with some other toys that I think are gonna help you along your journey of learning the cards, okay? Did you turn 22? Is she 22 years old? You didn't turn 22, love. You're 22. It's 1:28 where I live, so happy birthday. You're 22 years old. Okay? What is that? Listening and talking. Bestowal and reception. Long story short, okay? So that's the first thing. I'm giving away all my tarot decks. Why? Don't need them. And there's people out there that do. And so I'm keeping my 2, my black and white and my color, and I'm keeping the deck that I created. And the reason I'm keeping them is so that I can use them as tools to teach people. And it's all in this kit. This is the kit that's also kind of like the prototype, literally pencil on a piece of paper sketch of what the final kit will be, which is a box. Now look at the beautiful synchronicity of this box. I got this at a yard sale. Bestowal, the cup pouring, reception, right? Isn't that great? Come on. And it's made out of this pretty brass, whatever. Somebody spent a lot of time on this. Hand-painted, shellacked, screwed in these, just gorgeous, like really. There's these metal posts on the bottom that are really, really beautiful. Let's look inside. There's a mirror. It's kind of breaking though. It's kind of loose, like it's about to fall off. All right, you see that? And everybody see that mirror? Oh, wait a minute. Who is that? I don't know. I don't recognize him. I don't know. Maybe if we speak the right language, he'll talk back to us. Look at the butterfly. Isn't that pretty? You know what I love? The color of the box is yellow for air. Oh, by the way, there's a musician in the room. Love is in the air. Now consider those words I just sang. Love is in the air. Now, this I just put on top to hold stuff together. This is Crowley's unicursal hexagram, right? Unicursal meaning one stroke. Hexagram because it has 6 points, which it doesn't. It has 8. There's a point here and there's a point underneath, and so it's actually 8 points. It's a 3-dimensional object. And I just have that in there for the purposes of kind of illustrating, first of all, that it's upside down compared to the rose cross, right? So it's right side up, upside down. Very complicated, geometrical. It shows the Rosicrucian, rose cross, right? The idea of the 22 letters, the tree, the different suits, the whole thing. This is really the tarot. There it is in that image. This is a stripped down version. The symbols aren't there and everything. I show the real one all the time, right? You guys have all seen the real one. Then that was just there to kind of hold stuff in the box, and I put it down opposite so it was opposite of this, right? So let's just turn this. Just a reminder, it's not going to be part of the kit. This is for me, just a reminder, right? That rose on the cross and all the beautiful symbolism that we have talked about. And why? It's a pointer at the truth for those moments that we forget. We need little reminders. The deck, which by the way, look how perfect. I cut this live on we tried to make a deck which was really going to be an oracle based on the idea of the planets and signs and the idea of the elements. That's what I was trying to do. But then I had a bunch of leftover cardboard, and then I decided it was time, and I made it. And so I needed something to cover it with real quick, and I took a piece of cardstock. That's all it is. And cut it up and made this little sleeve. And look how literally glove perfect this fits. I mean, glove perfect, really. Awesome, that's great. And then the color deck, the black and white deck, the 3 coins, which are the pentacles. And each one is specifically has a different purpose of the story, and is there designed and to elicit that response. That's what it's for, right? And there's storytelling components that are going to be part of the kit. The deck is going to include not this particular wheel, but another wheel that's going to be completely black and white. And then during a session with me or another trainer in the future who's trained to do this, by myself or somebody else that comes to the conclusion later, anyone from the Inner Sanctum is going to be qualified to use this training, to color on your own. So this will be coming with it. There'll be notes on the back for all the stuff that you need to tell the story to the person you're working with to wake them up, and then the deck. Right, the deck is going to be there with all the components that I talked about, the 2 keys, the final cards with the truth, and the whole bit here. And again, why does this exist? I've said many times as a bold statement, not to be dramatic, but because it's true, that this deck gives you access to unlocking all human phenomena, all books, all music, all everything. And so you can use it for divinatory purposes. Right. What was that song I just sang? The cup is the heart. The sword is the mind. But it also represents the elements of water and air. Love is in the air. Love is in the air. Okay? You can tell any story with this. Of course. Please do. The first thing that you should send me, though, is a virtual hug. That's the one thing I miss most, like when COVID hit and we weren't allowed to touch each other. I miss hugs. I'm a toucher. If there's any Italians in the room, we use our hands when we talk and we touch people. And I love to hug. We put faces on faces. I'm sorry, I kiss my cousins on the lips. If you think that's weird, so be it. But you know that you get the idea. I miss touch. So send me a virtual hug. Now that said, and anyone who wants to send me anything, will keep it private, just like I do with respect to this stuff when, for you guys. So that said, I want to do something as well here for Uncle. I want to talk to Uncle real fast. This one's for you, Uncle, okay? You are a member of the Inner Order. You've been initiated. And so I just wanted to point out some things that are important when you enter the Inner Order. First of all, you can't get in without being invited. And so, you were invited, and so is Missy, so is Lauren. You're all in the Inner Order. And so now you got to follow the rules or you're out. Right? And so the first rule of the Inner Order is you have to be bestowed a magical name. The first magical name I'm going to bestow will be on Uncle tonight. And then when Missy's comes to me, I'll give it to her. And when Lauren's comes to me, I'll give it to her. And then you also have to choose your own name. And that name is going to be derived. I'll work with you on it so you understand the system. It's going to be something pretty lofty, poetic, ridiculous. That is the goal of the work. What is your point in being? So right now, as a member of the Inner Order, and as my brother from this point forward, I shall bestow upon you, and you shall henceforth be known as Shushu. Welcome, Shushu, to the Inner Order. So, that said, you're not uncle anymore, but you are. Thank you, Shushu, for listening. Thank you for... And I look forward to working with you. I look forward to working with your family, and I look forward to kind of getting closer and closer over the years of us kind of getting this together, okay? And so now, when we're talking out in the world, you use your real name. But when you're in the Inner Order, you don't use your real name because you want to change your persona. You don't want to bring the stuff from the world into the work, right? Like when you're sitting down and you're listening to the truth, or you're hearing the truth, or you're conversing to find it, you want to be in the right mindset. And so you don't want to come in with your identity that you created, the character we play. We want to create a new identity that's specific to that work. And so until you choose your own name, although it will never go away, you will always be Shushu. Until you choose your own name in the order will be Shushu, and then it will change, and everyone else can call you whatever they want, but to me, that's your name. And as it evolves, I'm going to be interested to see how you, what name you choose and how that evolves. Right? And so that, another thing that I'm going to be doing here is I'm going to be taking, once I rid myself of all my tarot decks, and whittle everything down to its absolute minimum of what's necessary for me to do my work, I'm going to be making some very major changes to my life with respect to where I live, how I live, and I'm being serious about this. The process that I took when I began this channel, with my hair raggy and a beard out to here, and then slowly going through that, cut the hair, trim the beard to get where I am. Don't worry, I'm not going to shave my head. Was the end of the old self, and now I will never shave again. I will never cut my hair again, and I'm going to become. It's the death of vanity, and the reason for that is so that I can be more what I am. Like, what would I look like if I didn't cut my hair and anthropomorphize my appearance? I would have a big beard and a bunch of long hair, and it would all be white, right? My hair is gray. It looks dark on camera, so I'm going to stick with that. But if you meet me in person, it's the same color as my beard. It just does. You can't see it on the camera, and gel makes it look darker. Which once my gel's over, I'm going to stop using it also. So my appearance might change, but I'm the same me. And what's the goal here? The goal here is to spread the word. The goal here is to kind of like, do seminars in bookstores on tarot decks and talk to people about the reality of how it works. To kind of like take beginners who don't realize that they're actually intermediate and turn them into masters in one day. And that's the goal here. Wow, cool. Yeah, by the way, Missy's got a pretty not bad looking husband. And, he's got a masculine look, but he also there's a gentleness to him. But that said, he's got a good beard, he's got good hair, and so that's good. And you probably wind up having, if, children or whenever that happens, you're going to have good hair. Your kids are going to have good hair. But that said, though, I'm curious to see. You'll all see what I look like next year this time. And so part of what I'm going to be doing as well is working with some people who I feel might be a good fit and are willing to develop this. And to develop it meaning to iron it out where it's an actual step-by-step system, which it is in my mind, and I have it to the point where it's very solid in my mind, and so I could sit with somebody easily, and it won't be a stream of consciousness like I do on the stream here on purpose, but rather, here's what you do, here's what this is, and here's how we should probably illustrate that, and then the meeting of the minds will create and then to do seminars. Online and in person with groups. I've done seminars related to search engine marketing. I've done seminars related to real estate marketing. I've done seminars related to I Ching. I've done seminars related to Feng Shui. I've done seminars related to a lot of subjects. And it's time to start doing the real one, which is to just like take an entire room of people and pop their heads open at the same time. And it can be done. There's some groups that they have these week-long seminars. They have 3-4 day sessions, all this to try to make this happen, and a percentage of people do, but I think there's a more effective method, and that's why I'm doing this. And am I being bold in that? No, because I have success in doing it. It's empirical. So there's a percentage of people that access this information through my conversations that realize that truth. And what is that truth? Remember the question I asked at the beginning. You're outside standing in the sun looking down at your shadow. You think that shadow is a different person? Of course not. So that's what we're talking about here. The ascent, the descent, the reconciliation, the restoration. None of it. None of it exists. We never left. You're already in the inner sanctum. So, that said, the goal is to get the spreads ready, get the deck ready, and kind of like use the tarot, use it in our own lives, right? Or use the system to kind of say, where am I? What am I going to do next? Who am I really? Get insight into this circumstance so that I can better make decisions that are going to benefit the real me, rather than being some kind of reinforcement of the personality. And so, there's three different orders, right? There's the outer order, the inner order, and the inner sanctum. And that's going to be the format of the show from now on, starting tomorrow. What I'm going to do is the outer order, which is going to be the toys, playing with the toys. Use the tarot for readings. We're going to do readings. We're going to do numerology, gematria, and the Toricon. We're going to do I Ching readings, and we're going to look at Lemegaton, and we're going to look at Kabbalion, and we're going to look at, the demons of Solomon. We're going to draw the sigils and do all the fun stuff. And because why? Because why would you have this beautiful knowledge and not play with the toys that it gives us? So it's playtime, and that's the outer order. The inner order is going to be the real stuff. We're going to look at the spread. We're going to talk about how to form in this mind the idea of how to use that wheel and draw your own colors in your head. Look at it as a sphere that rotates, so there's 36 up and down, making the 72. We're going to talk about taking the knowledge from playing with those toys and applying it in our life in the lower world. Still playing with toys, but at a different level. This is adults playing with toys. And then there's going to be the third segment, which is the Inner Sanctum segment, and that's designed around similar to the combination of the beautiful soul and the order and the vortex kind of idea. So I'm going to drop the language on the streams from now on, and it's only going to be relevant to the people in the inner order that want to actually kind of talk about how do we use these tools. I have these 2 tarot decks. How do I use them? That kind of idea. The practical magic is going to be in the inner order. And then we're going to get to the sanctum, which is really like the goal of the work. Like, what are we actually here to do? And now that we've played with the toys and we've used them and seen the inner workings of the clock, we can actually look back up and realize we're not just telling time. We're telling the truth, right? Which is a biggie. So now, I think I covered everything in the opening here, and I'm going to begin then. With today, because again, as I mentioned, there's a very special person whose birthday it is today, Lauren's, but there's another very special birthday, and it goes along with why I said that today is Teacher's Day. It's not Teacher's Day here in America. It's Teacher's Day in very specific parts of the Asian world for a very specific reason, because today is the birthday of Confucius, right? Kongzi. Kongzi gave us everything I'm telling you. And I've mentioned over and over when I've talked about this process, some things can't be taught, they can only be learned. And my grandmother had these books of these people, and it told the story of individuals, Jackie Robinson, the first black baseball player, and Marie Curie, who revolutionized chemistry, and Louis Pasteur, who gave us the vaccine for rabies, all these things. One of those books was on Confucius. And I remember a story that was in that book. It was drawn for a child. These thin white books. I don't remember what they were called. Anyone from my age might remember. I'm mid to high 40s, 47. I'm 47 years old. If it's there, if you remember what those books are, let me know. The one on Confucius told a story of a child, or one of his students, who was hungry. And so Confucius dropped the apple in the pot. and told the student to go get the apple if you're hungry. And so he went over and he put his hand in the jar and he grabbed the apple, and then his fist wouldn't fit through the top of the jar. And he said to the student, "You'll eat when you get the apple out." And was he being cruel? No. What he was doing is forcing, in a sense, that student to come to the conclusion on his own, to just turn the pot over and let the apple fall out, right? And that's what happened. And everybody in the room that watched it learned. And it was a beautiful thing, and that's what we're trying to do here. Okay, and so it's that idea of not teaching, but allowing the person to learn. And so he's really the ultimate teacher, because he doesn't teach. He is a reminder. He reminds you what you've already known. The wisdom of Confucius, good. And you know, depending upon the translation, although I shared a link on the stream yesterday to sacred-texts.com, has every sacred text by man ever, including a polyglot Bible with clickable definitions of the original Hebrew, including most of the Thelemic documents of Crowley, the Kabbalistic. It's you can't beat it. All the documents of the Hindi, all the documents of Shinto, all the documents of, it's all there, and the Confucian canon, incomplete. So it's a great, and that book is great. And then you can bounce off that into his other, because basically it's the 5 bodies of knowledge that he's known for. And so, you know, the concept that he's trying to teach is very illustrated in the yin yang, right? This idea of the ascent and the descent, and each piece containing a piece of the other, and ultimately it's just the one thing. The conversation's always happening. The fact that it isn't is us not knowing that it's happening. We think that voice is ours, but that's just the mind talking, because you can't hear your true voice in your mind. But he kind of tried to illustrate that idea. And where else have we seen this idea? Right? We've seen this idea before. Wow, that's a lesson, huh? I wonder if Confucius would have taught that way. Very ouchy indeed. I wonder if that's where the nuns got the idea from. Phew. Yeah, well, sometimes, you know, tough love, I guess. I don't know. I don't really believe in tough love per se, but it may seem that way if you allow them to burn themselves so they know not to touch the fire, so to speak. But yeah. And so, you know, Confucius is one of these examples. He knew. And he also knew how to communicate that. He knew that you can't teach it. You have to let them learn it. And so all we can do is put pointers out and hope that you follow the signs. But there is this, the world's different. We think differently. And so it's very inaccessible to some people, the ancient stuff, the Tao Te Ching, the Confucian canon, a lot of the Hindu and Buddhist stuff is, Pisces, hello, thanks for popping in, is very difficult to read. It is, as from a Western mind. I'm very jealous, frankly. I have a lot of friends that are from Sri Lanka, India, Madagascar, that area, not Madagascar, that whole area within basically the Indian continent, that area, the country rather, that have this connection to the Vedic math and connection to these concepts that I wish that I had to learn and kind of like, and to me, I'm learning it, so it's not intuitive. Or to the native Hebrew speakers who just get it, or the people who have studied, some of these concepts that just because they started early enough, it's just into their thinking. And now that I fall into that category. A lot of this fell into my lap, literally, at 6 years old. But it's all Western approach, and the Eastern stuff, which is where it all came from to begin with, came later. And so I was able to see it after the fact. So what I'm getting at is that by consuming this information, or allowing it in at least, and not realizing that you're consuming it. There is a madness to my method. You then get to look at this stuff and go, oh, wait a minute, wow, right? So even in just the short time that you've been here, I'm going to go ahead and take this. This is the Book of Changes and Unchanging Truth. Hua Ching Ni, who is a Kung Fu expert, but also is a very respected authority on Confucianism and in I Ching. Okay, that's him, incidentally. Look how beautiful. Let me show you from above here. Tell me that's not as above, so below. Right? Come on. Now he's performing Tai Chi, but no, that's as above, so below. Anyway, so I'm going to read a passage from yesterday, right? And that passage is just a short little paragraph that was talking about cycles. It was on page 65, which is funny because the I Ching is 64 hexagrams. Right, and I showed the wheel, right, of the 10 cyclical, right, signs and so forth. And now this is the portion I'm talking about. And now that you are in the inner order, this is going to make much more sense than when you read it maybe 20 years ago, or if you had accessed this without that knowledge. In the cycle of 60, each individual unit of combined energy is a beginning, a transition, and an end. The beginning of the next reading is the end of the last. It never ends, right? This spread, which is the creation of you. This is the story of your creation. This is the story of the creation of the universe. And what this refers to is that the beginning of every story is the end of the last. What happened before the Big Bang? Come on, man. There wasn't nothing in the beginning. It was the end of the last one. There was nothing in the beginning. And we never left the beginning. We're still in the nothing. So that said, in the cycle of 60, each individual unit of combined energy is a beginning, a transition, and an end. It is complete unto itself. It is also part of a something else. The entire universe is comprised of such individual units of energy, combinations, in small circles of 10, as shown in the chart above. Small circles of 10. It's everywhere. Kabbalah is Taoism. I'm curious what Rabbi Ben Lamed would say about that. It's my dream to speak to that man once in my life, and it's probably not going to happen, and I understand that. He lives in Pasadena, and it's all... the odds of me going to California in the near future are nil. I'm broke. And, I live on graphic design gigs and tarot readings. So that said... I'm not going to be affording a ticket to Pasadena anytime soon to visit any of the workshops or any of that other stuff. But that said, I'm curious what his opinion would be about the fact that my statement is that Kabbalah is Taoism. And it's the Western form of Taoism. Okay, and so you get the idea of what I'm saying here, right? Now, let's just complete the paragraph here. These cycles of universal energy are far from being a matter of distant concern in our daily lives, but they are actually the very context in which we live. Context in which we live. This is the value of the knowledge passed down to us from the ancient, developed ones. Whew, man, when the truth hits you, it's like, I don't know about you, but my heart rate goes up. What is kata? Any martial artists in the room? I'll tell you what kata is. It depends on where you are. If you're a white belt, it's a pain in the butt. That's what it is. Boring. I came here to learn how to kick butt. What are you talking about? I gotta just... What, God, can I just like learn how to kick butt, man? I want to be able to stretch my leg up in the air and impress the ladies, right? What am I trying to do here? You know, and as you go through the process and you do the kata, you realize what it's for. What it's for is not so that you can learn the moves. It's so that when the fight happens, you're not thinking. You're watching yourself fight. Your body does it for you. Why do you learn scales? Freaking any piano players in the room? Are you kidding me? I remember doing scales, 1, 2, 3, crossovers, and the whole thing, and then, you know, doing the inversions and doing, you know, like, man, try guitar scales. Are you kidding me? Doing arpeggios all day for 20 years? Why? So when it's time to do the concert, you're not thinking, you're listening to yourself play. There's a few people here that know that feeling. They wrote a song, and the only way they can hear it is to play it, and they just listen while they play. I have one of those songs I wrote. I haven't heard it in a while. And so that said, why do we memorize the times table? To learn math? No. So that when we're out and we have to do quick multiplication, we're not looking at the times table in our head, but it just, right? What it does is it gets integrated into our worldview. It becomes part of our thinking, so it's no longer a thought process. It's an automatic reaction and action. Right? The Zen archers who are able to hit a bullseye with their eyes closed. Right? Or the Shaolin who can slice a bullet in half. It's true. I've seen it. It's not a parlor trick. You know, it's very interesting. Bruce Lee, when he was talking about ki energy and the idea, you know, he did as hard of a punch as he could. I mean, and it was rated, and then he did his 1-inch punch, and it was harder. The 1-inch punch was harder than. And so why? Because the ki was in the punch, and he could have touched that person because he knew. Right? And so the idea is of that understanding. Now, could he do that the first time he was learning that one hand? No, he broke his knuckles, or you know, wasn't doing it right, and he did it over and over and over and over, so that when the fight did come, he didn't think; it just happened. That's why we learn our times tables. That's why we memorize Bible scripture. That's why we do our scales, and we learn all the different, you know, it matters. You want it to be ingrained, right? That's why, for instance, Missy is an important person in the room too, because, you know, she spits out all these great correlations when it comes to the mythology. Why is mythology important? Because it allows us to access the meaning of the context, right, in the storytelling. That's one of the reasons that these organizations, the only one I've ever really been a member of was Freemasonry. But Rosicrucian Order, the OTO, Amorc, these other groups all have ritual. Catholicism, all have these ritual reenactments of holy events, so that you are, unbeknownst to you, you're watching it thinking, oh, well, I'm watching this ritual take place so that I can better integrate the context. That's the truth in secret. What it's actually doing is it's having a psychological effect without you knowing it that puts your mind in a state of receiving the truth. No, receiving the intent behind the person speaking, right? And so if their intent is for you to find the truth, that's what you will do. If their intent is for you to pay the tithe and stop asking questions, then that's what you're going to do. There's a difference between asking a question and receiving an answer, and not doing either and knowing the truth, right? And that's what we're trying to do. And so ritual is very important, and that's part of the reason that I went through the process of developing this system, because it's the story of your creation in a spread, but there needs to be some things unlocked for the math to be perfect, so to speak. The divine order matters. I've spoken about it at length on why that matters, but it does. And so the idea here of the order in the vortex is just code words to remind you that order matters. If I'm living in 1, 2, 3, 4 land, and you're living in 2, 6, 7, 3 land, and you know, you say, can I borrow $1? We're going to be in a different place. You know, that's not going to work. What happens when you need to measure the beam that you need to hold the ceiling? Like, it's not going to work. Order matters. Talk to a musician about order. Music is beautiful, by the way. with respect to the Fibonacci, with respect to the ratios of the chords and the octaves and the fifths, and the circle of fifths is I can spend 3 days lecturing on the circle of fifths, the pentatonic scale, and how that applies to music. Because what is music? It's vibration that speaks to your soul. Like, it rings true. There's a beauty in it for a reason. That's because it rings true. The Rosicrucians made a very interesting discovery. This is for the musicians in the room. If you take a human body and you take the vertebrae of that human body and you weigh them individually each, and you compare the weight to the one next to it, it follows the Fibonacci scale. It follows the scale on the piano. That's right. We're a harmonic resonance done physically. I talked about that when Missy brought up the plates with the sand, and I mentioned that if we were to do that in three-dimensional space, it would have a different form. The little circles would be spheres, the little squares would be cubes, little triangles would be tetrahedron, and it would be this beautiful physical object that we do see in the form of planets. Once it gets too big, it squishes into gravity, and we have big things happen. But at the grand scale, at the lowest scale, it's just vibration creating a pattern that is a vortex that creates stuff in between, right? The vortex matters, and so does the order. And when you know what the order actually is, the divine order, we talked about it many times, and you understand the idea of the ritual, the storytelling of your creation, and it being the same as the creation of the universe, you can look into this story. Because now here's the thing, here's the power of this technique. This is the story of your creation from beginning to end in this lower world. You're looking at it. That's it. But then there's the true spread, which shows you your perspective from the higher world now in the lower as well at the same time. Very effective. And this is the spread that I'm going to be introducing to everyone in the room when we do the privates. And then there's the next piece of this, which is the same thing doubled again, but reversed with the vortex applied to it, and gives you another insight into the ascent form, which is the second part, right? And what am I speaking about? I'm speaking about the idea of this science. Wait a minute, what was that? Did I? Hang on now. Did you guys see that? Who is that? I think I know him. I don't know. His eyes look familiar, but I can't. Anyway, so here's what we're talking about. Isn't that neat that there's a mirror on the top of the box? Like if the cards were looking up, they'd be looking into the mirror. Isn't that something? And the mirror's loose. It's like about to fall off. Like it's not even there. It's not going to be there anymore one day. All of a sudden, one day, that mirror's going to fall off. Should I glue it? Nah. Okay. This is the descent. This is the ascent. Right? And these are the keys to the vortex. These would unlock the positions of the cards in the divine order, so that that it actually does tell your story, and it's not just cards interpreted. And so it matters. And the ritual matters. The ritual is you going through the story and telling it in your mind. Put down one card at a time. Think about where that card came from and why. Go to the next one. And then tell the story. All of a sudden, out of the blue, some page showed up, right? The page is the princess. All of a sudden, some princess shows up, and then the knight. She's kind of pretty. Tell the story, right? The bestowal of the element, the trials of the majors and their deacons, and having to each time you overcome your trial with the deacon, you gain his power. Essentially, you gain the influence of that sign combination, which is then bestowed and then passed on through the night, right? Brianna, thanks for popping in. Brianna, guess what? It's Lauren's birthday. She turns 22 today. How awesome is that? How you gonna pop into my channel and you turn 22 and think I'm not gonna make a big deal about it? Come on, man. I love notes, man. What have you been all my life? Notes. Is the tarot good or bad? As a tool, is the tarot good or bad? Because, you know, we can use it for readings and we can use it for all this other stuff, but really the goal is the work. So you have to look at it from what it is. If you're doing a reading, you're looking at that inner order. At least I do. I work in the inner order. The outer order stuff, even if you're asking me a totally trivial question, I'm not giving you a trivial answer. Yeah, it may sound like the answer you're looking for. Does he love me? And the end of the conclusion is it looks like there's a good connection to happen here, and that you can have something that's good, and there's a foundation for love. But I'm going to get there through the truth. It's just the truth in secret. But that said, though, the outer order stuff I avoid entirely. So my readings are inner order, and anyone who pays for a reading will get a reading, and it's going to be real. However, the inner order is the truth, and that's what we're, you know, trying to do. And ultimately, the goal, though, is for me to provide you with the instructions to craft the key to enter the inner sanctum, which is the realization of the one truth. I can't invite you in. I'm a member, but I can't invite you in. And so, it definitely depends upon the person that's reading, right? Lauren is a tarot reader as well, and I'm looking forward to her contributing to my learning. Is going to have a totally unique perspective. We're polar opposite people, right? She's a woman in a different place in thinking. That's not who I am. I'm 25 years older than her, whatever, and so we have a different perspective on life. We were raised differently from different families, from different everything, and yet we share this desire to seek truth for ourselves and others, and to communicate that. Right, and I know there's several people here as well that share that ability or that desire, and to participate in her growth while she participates in mine is going to be a lot of fun. But that's playing with toys, and we got to remember what the goal of the work is. Don't ever stop playing. That's what they're for. Keep doing your numerology and have a blast, and share what you learn, and keep sharing new techniques like the 9 = 0, or share techniques for gematria or gamatria. There's no way to mispronounce that word. Oh, very cool. Yeah, I was born in '75, December 1975. So, that said, I'm not going to say that the tarot is dangerous, but it is from one respect. If you go out and you get a deck of cards and you're using them, and they work. Tarot works. You're going to find answers. Some of the time, when you're new, you'll be right. As you get going, and you hit that level, suddenly you're right more than not. And then most of the time, when you get to that master level, you're right a lot of the time. And then when you actually enter the inner sanctum, you are always correct. You're never wrong, because you're no longer giving answers. You're giving truth. November 75. Cool. Was he a Sag yet, or is he still Scorpio? So that's what we're talking about here. These different levels of kind of how you use the tool determines what you get out of it. And if you're using it to get answers, that's what you're going to get. Questions and answers are two sides of the same coin. What's that third? The truth. And so that's what we're going to jump to now. Okay, and what we're talking about here is the idea of this algorithm I keep speaking about. What is this divine algorithm? And I've mentioned it a few times in different ways. Cool. Oh, wow, I just made it, yeah. 1122 is cool. I was raised as a Freemason on November 11th, 1999. How cool is that? And you know what? That was a total accident. It just happened to be that way. It just worked out that way. But that was the day I was raised. But long story short, you know what's really, really cool and special and magical about that number? Nothing. November 11th, 1999. 5 1s and 3 9s. Wow. 27, that's a special number. That's 72 in reverse. It's the name of God plus 1. 9, 18, 27 is a 9, because don't forget all 9s = 0, so all 9s = 9, right? Add up any string of 9s, you're going to wind up with a 9 at the end, right? So 27's a 9. Like, okay, cool, so that's a 9. That's a cool number. It's 8 plus 1. It's the 8 points of the Merkaba with the point in the middle that it emerged from. 9's very holy. 4 11s in a row. 5 1s in a row. Come on. It's a beautiful... What does it mean? It means something to me because of my vocabulary and my understanding of what those numbers mean. To the rest of the world, it's just a date. But it matters. And that's a beautiful date, too. 11/22. Now, 1975, we know the 9 disappears, right? And so we have 5 and 1 is 6 is 13. That's a 4 on the year. So, I leave the 11 and 22 alone. So he's 11, 22, and 4. If you add it all together, you get 10, which is kind of cool. So, but anyway, that said, though, that's the fun. What did I just do? I played with some toys, and it was fun, wasn't it? Wasn't it cool to go through that fun little thing? Oh, the dates matter and names matter, and you like, dude, my name connected is the same as like whatever, and so, although there is a beautiful synchronicity and magic to that, right? That's the idea of sympathetic magic. That's why the shamans in Africa, would spit on the ground when doing a rain dance. Ritual matters, right? Because it's the dramatic reenactment. So there's other ways that we can look at this algorithm. I've mentioned, for instance, and I have one for musicians today. I've mentioned, for instance, and I spoke to this today with my daughter, my middle daughter, Rachel. Special girl, special. She's so pretty. Really, I'm so enamored by my daughters, but yeah, she's so pretty. She happens to be the one that looks most like me, but that's not why I think that. But she's really beautiful. But anyway, we had a little chat today about this, and I talked about the algorithm with her, and what the algorithm is every 2 has a third. That's it. It's nothing fancy. You don't need a calculator. What does every 2 has a third mean? Well, like I talked about, black and white are opposites. Everybody here can agree with that. Black and white are opposites. However, they're not. They're actually 2 sides of the same coin. They're the same thing that has another opposite. What's the opposite of black and white? Color. Right? Oh. Okay. Well, now let's look at those 2. Black and white and color. Does that have an opposite? Yes, those are 2 sides of the same coin, and the opposite of that is gray, shade, tone, gradient. Here's the one for the musicians in the room. Notes. What is the opposite of harmony? Discord. Right? Harmony and discord. You know what happens when you go to hit that C and your thumb slips onto the D? Oh, man, that's ugly. Right? But they have a third, right? If harmony is the opposite of discord, and they're 2 sides of the same coin, then what is the third? I'm curious, actually, if anyone had what their opinion is of what is the third of the coin of harmony and discord. $33 is cool. 34 is 7. 3 7s is a pretty cool number. Plus the Fool. So we have harmony. We have discord. Multiple notes that are played together that are beautiful. Multiple notes that are played together that are ugly. And then the one in between. The actual opposite, which is 1 note played. Multiple notes played that ring beautiful, multiple notes played that don't, and there's way you can visualize harmonics, right? Okay, nuance. Let me think on that for a minute. Nuance. Well, nuance is the mother of melody. I would agree with that. Nuance is the mother of melody. It is the birth of the phrase, but the chord behind the phrase can either be pretty or ugly, right? But more importantly, that the chord or harmony, which is at least 2, right? And I mean, there is the harmonic of every note is really 2 notes, like the up and down, and it's the middle one that we're hearing. But the reality though is that a harmony on a piano, like the first and fifth, right? Or the first and third, or just those harmonies, not even the chords, not even the first, third, and fifth, just the first and fifth as an example. What's really cool? I'm a huge, just since we're on birthdays, I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I was right in the sweet spot of the age, and Luke Skywalker was my hero, and Yoda was my sage, and like right here, I've got my R2, which is really R2 is this he's the one telling the whole story. It's from him and C-3PO's perspective. Come on. My youngest daughter was born on May 25th, which is also the birthday of Frank Oz, who played the voice of Yoda, and it's also the day that Star Wars opened in 1977, which is pretty cool. So my daughter shares a birthday with frickin' Yoda. You know what I got? Beethoven. She gets frickin' Yoda. Although Lauren gets Confucius. Wow. Playing with toys, but still, wow. You know what I get? December 16th is also the day of the Boston Tea Party. How cool is that? The Boston Tea Party happened where a bunch of drunk guys dressed like Mohawk Indians and dumped all the tea into the ocean to stick it to the taxing. Great. But what also happened on my 10th birthday in New York was the murder of Tommy Bilotti, and basically the Gambino family took over the mafia. On my 10th birthday, a couple people got killed. It was a big deal. But yeah, so that's an interesting thing. That's one way to transfer power. There's easier ways. So there's ideas as well as far as tone and harmonies and other things. And again, I explore different concepts here to try to instill how to apply it in your life. Look at music and say, what are these competing opposites that aren't really opposites, that are just one thing that has a different opposite in each. Now what you have to do is continue to apply the algorithm, because eventually you'll get to one truth if you keep applying it. So as an example, I had the example of harmony and discord together being one note. And then if you take the answer of one note and the opposite of that being all notes as one thing, then the truth of that is no notes. But the concept is every second has a third. Every two has a third. We talked about it at length last night, even in the Bible and all these other things. And so, the algorithm matters because it allows us to kind of unlock the truth here. Like this truth about what's actually happening. We look up, and we hope that there's a God looking down. And so that implies two, right? Us and him, us and them, us and whatever. It's a her. I've proved it multiple times. Anyone who wants to go back, God's a woman, deal with it. We call up to her and ask for her to answer back, and we hope she's there. And so, us and God, that's two sides of the same coin. And, what is the actual opposite of that? The truth, right? Yeah, I think I covered most of what I was going to. It's going to be a quicker one today than usual because I've gone so in depth multiple times that it's the point of just sort of right now tying up some loose ends, whatever the case, as far as that, and then talking about the future of the channel, myself, getting rid of my decks, getting rid of a lot of stuff I don't need, shedding, giving people books. I feel will benefit them, and finding a small core of people to join me in the inner order to put this together, right? To train ourselves to get through these steps, to wake up ourselves and others. problem. You won't have to worry about missing anything visual until the end, and if you're asleep by then, don't sweat it. You can always go back. I leave the streams up. So So here's what I'm trying to do. The goal here is to, over and over, like a broken record, my goal is to maintain the integrity of the art of tarot. 420 is 6. Good number. I wonder, because I've heard that it comes from the police code for possession of marijuana. I heard that it's Hitler's birthday, and there's a lot of things, like where 420 actually came from. I have a lot of friends that are cops. I grew up with my sister's best friend growing up. His father was a detective, NYPD. The police code for possession of marijuana was not 420, at least not in Brooklyn. But so I don't know where that came from, but the time of the day that we're all supposed to hit our joints or whatever. But did I just date myself by calling it a joint? But you get the idea, though. It's just funny. That's a cool birthday, though. April 20th is a cool birthday. Why not? And there's also some beauty to the date mathematically if you want to play the game and play with your toys. But what we're trying to do is to maintain the integrity of the art. And what does that mean? That means that if I'm going to do it properly, then I have to stop. If you guys look at how I started this channel, just for fun when we're done with the stream here, or tomorrow, or whenever you want to pop in, check my first couple posts, a couple years back when I started doing readings. And then look back to now where we are, where I started doing readings 2 years later, about 2-3 months ago. 2 months maybe, I forget. Where I was pumping 4 readings a day, a pet reading, a love reading, a general reading for the zeitgeist, and a reading related to, anyway, I had a bunch. And then it evolved into the soul talk and so forth. And so, I looked back at that, and I watched a couple, and I thought, this is not who I am. What am I doing? Pet readings. I do pet readings, but to put them up on the internet as a way to generate interest in me is ridiculous. But I do pet readings all the time, and I have a lot of very close friends who have a lot of dogs, cats, and people who, are all the time kind of poking at me, hey, can you do this? Can you look into that? And I'm happy to do it. But to use it as a way to generate interest in what I'm doing was a lie. That's not who I am and what I'm trying to do here. If you hire me to do a pet reading, you're going to get one, and it's going to be good. I'm good at what I do, I promise. However, that's not what the work's for. The work is for eliciting a response in the people that I'm trying to work with and myself. And at the end of the day, we can't do that if I'm focused 100% on the outer order audience by using outer order language. Oh, that's awesome. Well, yeah, I'll do a pet reading for you. I'd love to. And so so I have to be honest. And some things are going to happen here because I'm going to have to also be honest with some people in my life that I haven't been. I've been holding back a lot of stuff from people in my life. I'm very active in the community, as much as I can be. And that might change. And I'm okay with it, because my goal here is to talk truth, not spread a single doctrine that leads people toward answers. And so I have to sit down and have a conversation with some people, and we have to figure out what the future is with respect to that. And I'm going to be open to whatever that answer is. And so. That said, the spread is, just to be clear, it is a tarot spread, and it can be used to read cards for people, and I do use it to read cards, all the time for myself and for it's a different kind of reading. It's $35 reading. It's not a $5 reading. It's not a $10 reading. It's a $35 reading. But it is 3 times what you're looking at. It's this again with a the different vortex associated with it, and then the third final working. And by the time we're done, it's 3 sessions of an hour and change, and we get to the heart of who you are, where you're going, why you went that way, how we experience that. And don't forget, the first step of that is the story of your creation from beginning to end. And that means we can peer into the middle. So can we look at the future? Yep. Can we look at the past? Yep. With just this. Just that. But that's not what we're here to do. What we're here to do is to draw the road back home, to draw the map. And that story is 3 times this. And the goal of it is to literally awaken you to your true self, awaken you to the one truth, and it be experiential, not intellectual, not emotional, both at the same time, part of your being forever. That's what the goal of this reading is. So by the time we're done with the story, absolutely dawns on you who you are. This is my story, by the way. Anybody who was born on December 16th, this is your lower world, birth to death. And on the top is the same thing from the perspective of your higher self. Yeah. Purpose is a big deal, and the numerology is a way to. It's a different vocabulary for accessing information. Right. I too you. Do you too me? Because I too you. I totally too you. You get the gist. That said, so this is going to be part of the process. The first step is to get the kit. You get a couple decks. You get the key, instructions of the story, and a personal session on learning how to use it. A second session on the second portion. The third session on the final working. That process is $35. It's a 3-session reading, typically an hour to an hour and a half, with the intent, it always goes longer. Never listen to me when I mention time. If I say I'm going to be 10 minutes on that reading, I'm going to be talking to you for half an hour. If I say it's an hour, book an hour and a half to 2 hours. I'm talkative. That said, I'm selling... I'm not selling my decks. I'm giving them away, but I'm only going to be able to ship them as I earn enough money to actually put them in the mail. Like I'm sending a couple of decks to Lauren for her birthday, and I can't afford to send them to her. So when I can, I will. And as I get a reading, I'm going to take some money from that and send the deck to the next person. And everyone who joins the inner order is going to get a deck until this list is exhausted. Okay, I'm going to choose which one. And that's the point of this process, is to shed myself of these and to use it to feed other people. I'm not charging for them. They're yours for free. You want to regift them, go ahead. You want to sell them and buy a different deck, it's your deck. And why am I doing that? Because I want everyone who gets these, who joins the inner order, so to speak. We have to come up with a name for the inner order. We have to name our cult. The truth cult, like, I don't know. I think we should definitely have the word cult in it, though, because that's gonna like cause stink, and stink gets noticed. but really, all kidding aside, so we need to like name the cult. But if you join the inner order, I want you to be able to use this right away, right? And so I hope you have an understanding of the process and can see how it works. Otherwise, you'll have a tarot deck that you can look at and reference every once in a while, pull a random card on, and not even think about it. Because the reality is you don't need the cards for the story. It just helps you to tell it to yourself. But that's not what it's designed for. It's designed to share this. So once you come to the conclusion and you've found the one truth, I promise you're going to be motivated to share it. You're going to want to tell people, and you have to be careful about how you go about that. And so this is a way that you can use to tell that story and to share that enlightenment in language that's the truth open, that can be consumed by anyone, that you don't need inner order, you don't need to read the books, you don't need to have tarot knowledge. You could use any language that's comfortable to you to come to that truth with this. And so that's the point. And so what I'm going to be doing in the channel here is that I'm going to play with our toys in the beginning, do a couple readings and whatever the case may be. Maybe I'll put that at the end. We'll see. We'll work it out. Feedback matters on how the flow of this works, right? The Seer's Cult, Inner Knowing. Yeah, we'll have to kick around. That's going to be a hard one. The deal is, the whole concept, and it's kind of like the buzz line is feel the knowing, right? Because look, feel the knowing, right? Feel the knowing. If you want to know the feeling, feel the knowing, right? And so that's kind of what popped into my head, is feel the knowing, because that's what we're trying to do here. And what that does is that is a secret statement to unlock the vortex. Feel the knowing tells you, oh, the sword and the cup together, not the cup and the cup, not the sword and the sword, but there's a turn in the higher world, and that turn allows you to feel the knowing. I do have Instagram, yeah. I just posted a couple of things on it that were mostly for a church I was working with. As part of their kind of thing, but I have an Instagram account. I don't really post to it too much, but I will check it. I mean, or my email, depending upon what you're trying to send. You can always email me at mcarrus@gmail, and I check it. It comes up real time or on my phone. I like it, so I'll know right away. And so the idea here is to use the tool. In doing so, come to the conclusion, or work on coming to the conclusion, do the work to enter the inner sanctum, and then at that point to share that, and to whoever is willing and able through their own work enter and have the ability to do so, to join in training and on a group level, like to join the inner order proper and become part of this thing that I'm creating in order to get this word out, because I really do. Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now, there's a lot of different current mystics that have this knowledge and are applying it in their way. But it still winds up kind of being a here again and gone again kind of fad. Like Eckhart Tolle has a following, but it should be bigger. Milo DuQuette has the answer. He's got it. And he needs to be bigger, right? The idea here is the new earth that's not possible, unfortunately. It's taken. But that said, though, the idea is there are ways that we can, on a not requiring a famous guru, to just individually go through the self-initiation into the truth, so that we're using the tools properly. Yes, play with your toys, but that's not what we're here to do. We're here to elicit a response. Just like ritual. The purpose of doing the ritual is to put yourself in a psychological state so that you are, unbeknownst to you, changing the way you think. It alters the way you perceive, it alters your perspective, and then suddenly the truth pops. It's like, oh man, I never knew, I always knew. I'm not teaching you anything, I'm helping you to remember, right? Oh, New Earth, there you go, that explains. Oh, that was his second book, yeah, right. New Earth was the second one after Power of Now. I think Power of Now is better from the respect of the core of what he's trying to get at, and New Earth is great. I totally forgot that he wrote that. Eckhart Tolle is a special guy. But you get the idea here. There's many different ways to approach that truth, and how you go about that is very personal and intimate. And some people do the Kabbalah, some people do I Ching, some people do guided meditations and yoga. Crowley used yoga. Crowley was very into yoga with respect to finding this moment because samadhi is the goal, which is, union. But that's the lie. Union is the truth in secret. You can't have a union if there's only one thing. You trying to, reconnect with God is a misunderstanding of the truth. You don't stand in the sun and look at your shadow and see it as a separate person. So, the spread is available as a means of seeing the story of your life, but also telling the story of how to come to this conclusion on your own, because it's the only way you can. I can't open the door. I can't walk in with you. I can't invite you. I can bring you to the door, and I can give you instructions for crafting the key. And this story that has taken me the better part of 20 years, 40 years of reading cards, but 20 years of this knowledge coming to me, and it being a mental activity until I started developing this on my own as a tool to use in my work with people, and then now finally sharing. That story works, and I've used it over and over and over again to effect. And the beauty thing is that I've even had people who are these like great magicians who've done all this work studying, and they taught me a thing or two about goetic stuff, or they taught me a thing or two about the Shem Haforesh, or all this stuff. But they never came to the truth. You can tell by the way they're talking that they haven't actually entered the inner sanctum. You're like, wait a minute, this guy thinks he gets it. Oh crap, he thinks he gets it. 377. It looks like something broke on the screen, like the images didn't pop up, but I see the 377. And so, the concept here is, if we're talking about reconciliation, then we misunderstand. If we're talking about returning, then we misunderstand. If we're talking about communion, we misunderstand. And that's okay, because these things point to that. It's all that sign. And reading the cards is that's what we're trying to do. That's what our soul is trying to tell us while we're reading the cards, is don't read that meaning, read this one. This is the thing you want to see. Right? It's the idea of understanding the vocabulary proper, as opposed to the vocabulary that is the little white book. And then you graduate from that into, now I know the elementals and planets, and that's a big deal. When I started working with the elementals and planets, like that, every princess or page is earth, and every knight is air, and every, and so on, and all these different cards here. And then applied with their element, that woke me up to how to read the courts in a way that, everyone I asked about court cards when I first started talking about tarot, I was a little kid when I started playing with it. They led me wrong. I didn't get the right answer on what the courts were, right? And now for me to say, oh, okay, well, what we're talking about here is the airy part of fire. Air is intellect, fire is will, and so it's the idea of wanting to communicate the will, or wanting to bestow the, physical manifestation, or, just by using the language of heart, mind, body, fire, water, air, and so forth, combined with the planets. It's a very elegant and beautiful system. And so that kind of access is higher level games, but that's what it is. You're still playing games. But they're good games. They give you real insight. They give you real perspective, real context, and so it's the truth in secret. Excuse me. And so when you have the truth in secret, and then you're told the truth openly, it's like, oh, I get it. You got to start somewhere, right? Really? Well, sometimes trauma is what leads to the state of seeking, because we walk around thinking we're in a state of knowing, right? And once we know, we stop learning, we stop, we get further instead of closer. Yeah. And so with respect to the story and the spread and what it's all about and why we're talking about it even to begin with, is that this is going to be the pretty much the predominant work that I do outside of going online and doing readings and introducing people to the concept here and talking about all kinds of fun stuff like numerology, aromatherapy, homeopathy, naturopathy, harmonic resonance, talking about music theory, with respect to Fibonacci and colors, you know, all these. We're going to continue to talk about all that fun stuff, and we're going to play with toys every day. We're going to have kid time, and we're going to have a grown-up time, and both of those are going to be playing. We're going to do goetic stuff. We're going to talk about, you know, how do you create a magic circle. We're going to talk about how do you do the LBRP. That's the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram. What does that mean? Why would I do that? Isn't that some kind of satanic whatnot? What are you talking about pentagrams for? You know, all that. That's right. Yeah, that's right. That's what we're trying to do here. Just remember that just remember. It's not learning. It's funny too because Milo DuQuette puts it a great way. He talks about the peeling back. The peeling back of the veil. There he is again. God, I feel like I know that guy, but I don't know. It sort of looks like me, but I don't know. That's not my face. Those aren't my eyes. But the voice, that's what it is, the voice. I don't know. We'll see. Anyway. Once you find yourself on the path, you see the connections everywhere. They just come to you. It's like you don't even have to try. It's really, really something. And, you know, ultimately the point is that, like, what are we trying to do here? Like, say, life's not a journey, it's a destination. And life's not a destination, it's a journey. It's neither of those things. But both of those implies a beginning and an end. You know, a journey to what? To what end, right? It's not. The beginning of every story is the end of the last. It's everything at every moment is in a state of coming, going, and transitioning at the same time, period. Right? Every two has a third. Are you coming or going? Neither. I'm transitioning. And so that's the idea, right? The spread gives us access to that. How? By applying the vortex. What does that mean? Understanding that flip on the way down. Are you there? There is no God. The voice of your higher self from above sounds like the voice of someone else from below, saying the opposite thing. What exactly Libra means? Well, you know, there's a lot of ways to look at Libra. Justice talks about the compulsion to balance the scale, but that's the outer order. There's a divine weight to the universe. It's a zero-sum game. Balance is guaranteed. You don't have to work for it. The universe doesn't have a choice. You know, every take is a give somewhere else. It's like everything is an even exchange. Energy is not removed or added ever. And so you get the idea there. It's the idea that there is a divine scale and it will not tip. You can't tip it. And so that's the inner lesson. Libra rising, okay. Well, a wish box, that's a little tough. I mean, what that is symbolizing ritually your intent. And so from the perspective of that work, yes, but what I would say is whose intent. If you're trying to physically manifest a will, let it be your true will and not the will of the body, not the will of the heart, not the will of the mind, but the divine will, right? And what is that? Yours. Not Brianna's. Brianna's a name. I drive a Chevy. You think I get into my car and become a Chevy? Why do you get into that body and become a Brianna? Don't identify with the brand of car you drive. You don't look down and go, you know, like, is that somebody else? No. It's just a car that you're driving. That's all. There's something to be said for when you're in that moment. This experience happened to me once. I was having a very profound moment, and I was in that place, and people stopped looking like people. Like, I saw the person, like, there's two eyes and a nose and a mouth and ears, and, you know, like, that was there, but it looked alien. I was looking at a girl that I was close with. We were friends, and she was no longer herself. It was weird. It was her, the form, but I didn't identify with the person, and it looked like I was looking at an animal. It was a weird feeling until it dawned on me what happened, which was that I actually saw her for the first time as her true self. And she was quite beautiful. Had big blue eyes and like really dark hair, and you know, just kind of a very dramatic look to her face. I don't know. It's like kind of shocking at first, like, because there's big eyes and everything. But I was kind of moved by it. There was something about that. You know, you see the things, but without definition. So you kind of were seeing it for the first time for what it really is, which is without an expectation or a definition or a vocabulary. It's just the being itself. And when that happened, I wasn't identifying with the person or who they were to me or any of that. It was just I was observing this life, this being. And I just want to be clear. I'm not talking about the being, the noun. I'm talking about the verb. You are a human being, Missy, Brianna, Shushu, Lauren. So, you're a being, verb. Instead of being Brianna, Missy, Shushu, Lauren, be you. Be a human being you. Let's check the notes here. So that's the deal. Some major changes are going to happen. I'm changing the format of the show. It's going to look the same, but I'm changing the format. Basically, of the topics are going to be changed. It's going to be outer order, inner order, sanctum, and three separate kind of ideas. One's going to be playing with the toys. One's going to be playing with the toys on an intermediate to higher level with respect to the knowledge and the technique. That's where I'm going to lose the people who want to know about relationship readings. And then we're going to get to the sanctum, right? And the sanctum is the idea of walking people who are ready, or those who bump into the video after the fact, to pop that truth, right? The body, a vessel for the soul. Okay, that's the secret. That's the truth in secret. Yes, that's the truth in secret. So, as far as getting rid of my decks, anybody who joins the inner order will be getting a tarot deck. And how I describe that, because again, I'm broke, I can't afford to just send one to everybody who's like, oh, I'm in the inner order, right? You know, did you invite me? I'm in, right? If you work with me on the spread, which is, again, it's $35, and what this is going to include is this spread, the second version of this, which includes the, just to be clear here, which is going to give me a few bucks to send you the deck. Basically, I'm using the $35 to pay for sending you the deck, okay? And the rest is going to go to, you know, buy my dinner that night. This is the first spread, and you're looking at it here. The bottom portion, this whole card, is what you're looking at on the bottom. This. Okay? And then what we're going to do is do that same thing but for the top portion, reversed with the 2 flipped back because they're pinned, and then applying the vortex to the suits. So you're going to turn stuff, change stuff, whatever the case may be. Suits change position, right? They change position based on here they won't, there they will, there they will, there they won't. And then when we go to the restoration, this is the estrangement. Same thing, only these aren't pinned anymore and the middle is, right? So notice how the middle changed here, but the outside changed here. And so by applying that to that other portion, what we wind up with is a whole different reading, right? So we're going to do, and then we go to the second portion, which is to do that all over again, right? Only if starting with this instead of that. Okay. And now those 2 alone are going to tell you, this is the story of the bottom, the story of your birth and death from the lower world, and the story of your birth and death from the higher. Then we move to the other, which is the ascent version, the going up, the return. I don't know what you can go back to if you never left, but whatever. The return. And now we do that whole process again. And then there's the final working, which is a combination in a special way that I talked about a little bit, and then I'll reveal as we do the readings for each person when we get to that stage, right? Wow, yeah. That's kind of one of the things, that's why I've heard it put that way with respect to falling through the abyss and why we get turned around. And so when we look up and we ask, are you there? And we hear from below that there is no God, that's because we're hearing the voice from above, opposite, so from below, saying the opposite of what it's saying. So we can use that knowledge to say, wait a minute, if I'm hearing from below that there is no God, that's me from above saying I'm here, right? Think about that the next time somebody says something hurtful to you. That's the voice from above saying that you're doing the right thing, or that you are beautiful, or that you are smart, or that you whatever the language is. It's important to recognize that, especially your own voice. But I've heard it put that way as well, as far as the birth process. And part of that as well is going to be having a conversation, telling the story with these as well, so you kind of get an idea of, like, when I say God is female, the upper and lower world have this difference. So, like, if I see this, now that I know the truth, which is what we see, this is the bottom, right? This is the divine order of the tarot in its current state. Wand, cup, sword, pentacle, pointed up. But we have to apply the vortex to the top, because as during the descent, it got reversed. So if this is what I see, this isn't what it looks like in the upper world from our perspective. Well, this is what it looks like in the upper world. Everything is opposite, and the positions change of the 2 middle ones that aren't pinned. It starts with a dot, then a line, then a triangle, and then the tetrahedron. It starts with a dot. Now down here, it's different. We start with the line, and then the triangle, right? And it's a different circumstance. So what does a penis look like in heaven? A vagina. And what are we seeing? We're seeing the vessel of the birth of physical manifestation. What gives birth to physical manifestation? Not a man. And so you get the idea here. It's the divine feminine. And what is this? This is the great work of the Wiccans, right? This is love is in the air. Right? That's an air sign. That's the love. Love is in the air. Right? You get the idea. And so that's part of the process as well, is just kind of getting an understanding of this, and so you can begin to intuitively do your own kind of connections and so forth, and use that system for what's appropriate. So really, that's an important thing. You're so welcome. I love that. I just got a really, really nice message on my phone, and it's felt great. And then finally, the pieces that matter the most once you've told the story are the last card. Okay, here's the last card. Every two has a third. Here's the last card. This is the Inner Sanctum. This is the entire story. There it is. All of it. The sword pointing up, the sword pointing down, the cup pointing down, pouring, the cup pointing up, receiving, the two pentacles, listening, talking, bestowal, reception, the reverse, the flip, all of it. This is the entire story of everything that I've mentioned over and over in this one little, beautiful little symbol with the two pentacles. So there's a space, and we'll talk about how long that should be when I design it. It's going to be vector, so it's going to be clean and pretty. The mirror. Is it a window? Is it a mirror? All right. This is pen sketch. Sorry for the. It's pretty bad. He's holding his a hand up to his ear and saying "shh" with an eye closed. So these ideas, and walking through these, just these cards alone are everything. Right? Just these alone can really tell the story. The reason that these exist, to be honest, is to illustrate, because again, the purpose of this is to teach, which means to allow them to come to the conclusion. This process, and so it's there to illustrate the court cards. There's 16 court cards. Here they are. There's the elements, which are the aces. Here they are. That's an ace. That's an ace. That's an ace. Right? These are aces. These are the court cards. Right? That's the Pentacle of Lament. But what is that? That's one of the courts. Right? That's one of the courts. These are all the court cards. There's 16 of them. Right? All these are one of the court cards. So these, what we're looking at here, just to be clear, is the March of the Courts. Right? What is that? The story of your creation. Right? There they are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then there's 2 on the outside, which is the prior queen and the future prince. How many? 10. Plus the 3 trials. It's actually really, really smooth. It's just a smooth system. It's kind of beautiful. And of course I think that it's my baby, and everybody's baby is the most beautiful baby in the world to them. I just happen to be right. But that said, though, that's what I'm doing. Okay, and so the goal here of this, from now on, is going to be the idea of whoever is interested in this process, join me for $35. We will go through this process of all 3 of these spreads. I'll mail you a deck that's going to come out of the money you give me to do the spread, and we will schedule a time. It's 3 sessions of 1 to 2 hours apiece. So just be prepared for that, because the goal is to get to this work and to find that answer, and the truth, and. It takes work to get there. Now, I've had it before where they popped here, and we didn't even need to go past the first stage. That's awesome. I'm jealous. And some people will have that experience regardless. And now the other side is the idea of going all the way through the story and you haven't popped. And so then we know we need to tell the story in a different way and maybe provide you with some tools to help you again to come along in your own way. Everyone comes to this in their own way. My goal is just to try to present a way that you can actually go through the steps of laying out the story with the cards on the desk, right? And having these up in some fashion in your space that you can utilize, and just lay them out, right? And by laying them out, you can go through the process of seeing this actually happen, right? And there's a power to that, And now it also lets you swap things around. It lets you swap things upside down to other worlds and all this stuff that you can't really do here. These are going to be designed when they come out to be foldable. So you can like tell people love is in the air, or you can tell people, feel the knowing, right? Or you can tell people the story of why God is a woman and get over it. And the future Messiah is female, and all this kind of stuff. And you can like have all these stories that you can tell in this, right? On a dark desert highway, cool wind in my hair, right? I mean, you can go all over the place. And so the idea is to have a device to tell a tale, and that tale is their creation. And so the way that I'm going to be able to fund this is almost like every person who participates in the process will be paying for their own deck, essentially. I'm going to be sending a deck to you just to get rid of mine. It's got some energy in it, and you can use it as an art piece. Somebody out there is going to get a copy of the Solabusca, which is the first deck that ever used scenic court cards and scenic small cards for the deacons from the late 1400s, or the Visconti Sforza, which is the first tarot, the oldest tarot deck that we have in existence. That's actually a complete. It's missing one or two cards that they recreated, but the complete deck. Somebody's going to be receiving some very cool Golden Dawn stuff. That may be fun for those that lean that way in their thinking. And we'll see who gets what as we go through the process. It'll be interesting because that's going to be intuitively divined at the moment. Which one is getting what? I chose Tarot of the Abyss and Lightseer Tarot for Lauren. I'm sad to see the Lightseer or the Tarot of the Abyss go. I'm kind of a big time Anatorian fanboy, and Anatorian is the artist of that deck, who clearly has a connection to some higher stuff in the way she's presented the art. And I'm gonna miss her. That deck is it's a good one, but I think it's gonna wind up in good hands. Nisha, hello, thank you for popping in. Shushu, I don't know about you either. I got to think about what I'm going to send you. Missy, I'm half sure, but I want to have a chat with you first about what might gel with you a little better as I go through the list. So we'll see. But you're all getting one soon. I just got to figure out. And Brianna, if you're interested in joining the Inner Sanctum, I welcome the opportunity. You're invited. So just gonna peek at my notes. I think that was it, right? I'm getting rid of everything. I'm going to willfully choose the ascetic life with the intent of spreading this knowledge, and I'm trying to bring some people along to help do that same thing, to help wake us up. And to keep it cheap, to keep it accessible. I want the kit to be as cheap as possible. Like, what does it cost to get these decks out to where we can profit so we can keep it going and there be a profit? But the goal be to spend it back with the intent of growing this and to a point that it will blow up on its own. That it's not about dying with the most money in the graveyard, or it's about having accomplished something before we go, right? I don't know how long I'm going to be here. It could be a day, it could be 100 years. I guess if I looked at my family, the women live a really long time and the men don't, right? And so, but I'm going to try to, wake up as many as I can, as fast as I can, for as long as I can. And hopefully that's for another 70 years, or 72 would be great. But if not, so be it. We got to spread it out so more people do that, because the fact is that the way we think now, we consume information in a different manner. We use a different vocabulary. The youth, especially, have a totally different vocabulary than I do. And my kids, I'm not that far apart. I was 26 when I had my first child, right? And so, we're not that far apart. I mean, it's longer than a generation, right? Which is 15 to 20 years, but still. 26 years is enough time to where me and my daughter, we're very close. Samantha, my oldest. So don't get me wrong, we're very close, but we come from totally different worlds. My daughter is very different than me, and we're very similar. But that said, I would have to speak to her in a different language due to the fact that she is generationally different, was born into a world with high-speed internet, was born into a world with on-demand, was born into a world with cameras that can scan your face and send you tickets, AI, swarm, drones. It's a different world. Just sit on these two words, drone swarm. That should scare the hell out of you. So how about an AI-controlled drone swarm? I think that's all I wanted to cover with respect to that. It. Okay. And the last piece, right, is the. Okay. Yes. I was going to name it, but I didn't. Again, I very purposely today did not name the titles. It's just Our Beautiful Soul. I didn't give it the subtitle. But today's Beautiful Soul was going to have the subtitle of The Messiah and the Disciple. Which one are you? I need a moment. I'm going to make some coffee. I just realized I looked down and it's been 2 hours of me talking to people. So I'm just going to make a quick cup of coffee and I'll be back. We're going to go Beautiful Soul and then we're going to play with our toys. Okay, see you in a minute. So far, I'm kind of torn between Sumatran, single source, fair trade, and there's a couple of flavors out there that I like. I don't do flavored coffee, but dark coffee. And, Green Mountain has a couple good, too. The Green Mountain Sumatran isn't bad, but they just recently... Dark Magick is good. Dark Magick. What a great name for a coffee. Dark Magick. Like, that would be something I drank, right? But they put out another one. It's called, is it Black Granite? Black Granite or something like that. It's so much smoother. And I thought that I knew. Like, my father was in the coffee business, and he, I got spoiled for a couple of years with really good brewed Arabica, his coffee was better than Jamaican Blue Mountain, which was like $45 a pound. My dad's coffee, which I got for free for several years. I was a caffeinated son of a gun. That was a good time, though. I don't know, some dark coffees they get you just right, Delicious. So what we're going to do here is move on to some... I don't know if I should, and I guess I'll pose the room. Would you rather me do the beautiful soul now? Or would you guys rather just play with some toys and then do the beautiful soul? You tell me. I'll let everyone in the room kind of mull it over and decide. And eventually I'm going to learn how to do all the fun stuff like polls and, all this one. I'm doing this all on my own, 100% of this. And so I kind of rushed through it, right? Like just... downloaded a copy of OBS, learned how to use it, made this thing happen, and did not have time to... I don't even know how to use it. I'm just using it, right? So, there's going to be a point when the graphics sharpen up. I'm a professional graphic designer who is not doing my job. I mean, if I were to look at this work, I would say, you are fired, buddy. Like, what is with the fonts? Are different sizes, colors? It's not... There's no... Where are the principles? Where's the proportions? Where's the the composition, and where's the golden mean and all this? It's an awful job, and I appreciate everybody being patient with the way I present this visually, because it's more of just this compulsion to get it out, so that we can now relax that it's out and approach the information together, can talk about it. So that's why. And when people ask about what are you doing or what's this thing, I can say, well, now go watch that video and we'll talk about it tomorrow. So if there's no particular opinion with respect to whether I should move on to a beautiful soul or we should do some more playful stuff, then you can let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and move on, and we'll move to the beautiful soul portion of the talk here. And like I said, I was going to name it the Messiah and the Disciple, right? Because and we talked about today with respect to Confucius. The people that he taught were disciples of Confucius, and some of them went on to do some very great things. And there's also the disciples of Jesus we hear about, the 12 disciples. Here's another picture of the 12 disciples. If you haven't made that connection already, the 12 signs are the disciples of Christ, right? Anyway, that idea is one that follows all these different, right? And so there's the teacher and the students, right? But if we apply the algorithm to that, what does that mean? All right, we have the teacher and then we have the student. The point is that we need to identify that role and fulfill it. Right? We have this idea of the Messiah. And what is the Messiah? The Messiah is the bringer of the truth, right? And then you have the disciple, who is somebody who takes that truth and spreads that message, right? And then you have the third. Every two has a third, and that third is John, the wild man from the woods that doesn't bathe and smells funny, and people are like, yeah, that guy's nuts. Meanwhile, he's the one who baptized Christ in the story of the Christians. He was the one who, he was the original John who foretold of the coming of the Messiah, right? And so there's also another third. You have the Messiah, and then you have the disciples. Well, what's that other third? The Creator. That's the only one truth. There are no Messiahs. There are no disciples. We are all that one truth. And so, as far as what we're looking at here and what we're talking about is that I'm asking you to be the Messiah. I'm asking you to come into this world and to bring forth the truth, which is a new doctrine. The old way doesn't work. And now we can, and here's the beauty of this. This is not replacing anything. It's taking the Bible and making sense of it so that the truth is revealed instead of answers. It's taking the Torah and it's decoding it, not in a way that you can find funky combinations in the letters of the Bible code. That's toys. You're playing with toys. That won't give you the truth. It gives you answers that lead to questions, that lead to answers, that lead to questions. And it's so much fun. I can't tell you how long I spent with a ruler and a pen because I didn't have graph paper. And I can't even tell you the stuff that came out of that, playing with the toys that led me to this place. And so, we need to allow for that process. But ultimately what we're here to do is to do exactly that. We need to herald the coming of the new Messiah. And what is that? You are the new Messiah of your own story, of your own doctrine. You are your own disciple. Stop listening to the voice of the world and listen to the voice of your soul. Where do you hear the voice of your soul? In your heart. Where do you feel the love of your higher self? In your mind. You feel the love in your mind. You feel the voice in your heart. That's where it works. That's why we can't hear it. We're listening with our ears. That's why we can't feel it. We're feeling with our heart. You can't do that. Order matters. And the order, because we know it works. I've showed you many times how the math works here. Order matters. And so that lets us know that if we want to hear the voice, we have to listen with our heart. If we want to hear the love, we have to listen with our mind. You process emotion mentally, you process mind emotionally, together at the same time, and this becomes a cycle. That's called channeling, and that's where truth comes from. Channeling isn't about calling spirits that you talk to that used to be alive and aren't anymore. You weren't that smart when you were alive. Why do I think that suddenly you have the answers? If I can talk to the ghost of Einstein, that's a different story. I've thought to myself, over the years, if I could talk to anyone who alive or dead, who would it be? And I've thought about Confucius, but then I realized it would just be a conversation of us staring at each other and saying nothing. Sorry, I had to. I know, I laugh at my own jokes. He who laughs at himself never ceases to be amused. And so that said, what we're looking at here is the idea of if you self-initiate into the inner sanctum, we have an obligation to share it. And how we do that is through a process of awakening that in others. We do not teach this doctrine. We're just helping people remember in the language that they speak. Some people speak the language of music, and they're going to talk to the people who need to hear the truth in song. Some people speak in art, and they need to speak to people who speak the language of color. Some people are mathematical. I'm your guy. Some people are very deep into the esotericism and the arcane. That's a very powerful way, because we can take this algorithm and we can take this vortex and we can apply it to old knowledge and suddenly bang. And so what we're looking at here is this way that we can actually change the world. And the cool part is that it's literally exponential. It's fast. Once the flash happens, there's no going back, and it's instant. You literally are shed of all pain, all the past that you carry, all the anger and the judgment on people that have hurt you. You see them for who they are, which is you. And that we're all just a little broken piece. They don't get it. And if we could make them understand, they would be released of the suffering that leads them to hurt people or to make the decisions to harm instead of help. Because they're seeking too. They just chose to fill that cup with something else because they didn't know better. What is a drug addict? A seeker. They're seeking truth and they found it in the wrong place. We can cure addiction. When you show somebody their self, the necessity disappears. Just like when you're in that battle, the courage disappears, but the energy that it rose stays, and you can turn the courage into power. Imagine the power that a drug addict has when they're in the power of seeking and they've raised this addiction, and you show them the truth. They're the most devoted people to the truth because they've spent their whole lives seeking, and they know what it's like to see the lie. Some of my best friends are hookers and drug addicts that I met through the process of working with various churches or doing some volunteer work. And I've been very fortunate to be able to clean up a lot of people. Somebody that was doing very bad things to their body so that they can go make money to do worse things to their body. And show them dignity. And show them strength. And show them themselves. And I guarantee it, you do that once in your life, and you will be addicted to truth and shedding it and spreading it and making sure everybody you talk to understands it, even if you sneak it into the conversation. I sneak it into my readings all the time. I'm reading the cards actually. I know what I'm doing, and I use the proper method to read the cards. But the message is truth, and I want people to come along with me. People who are open to this process, people who are open to wanting to awaken. And if and when you do, if you're compulsed to share that, then join me and we can do that together. I'm not building a cult. We're not going to make an organization. This is about individuals, spreading joy with individuals. We can do seminars. We're going to have to charge to pay for the room. We're going to have to charge to pay for the materials. We're going to have to charge to eat and maintain our lives. I more see it as almost like a nonprofit type of situation, like a church type situation, where it's supported by the people who do the work within it, and it grows through the exponential speed of awakening. And so that's where I'm at. I'm asking you to recognize and remember that you are the Messiah. I'm here to ask you to recognize and remember that you are the disciple. I'm asking you to remember and recognize that you are it. How's it going? Royal Doodliness, thank you for popping in. I'm glad you said that you were here. I appreciate it. How long have you been here, incidentally? From my clock, it's been about 2.5 hours. What time is it? 3:30? Wow. Yeah, I thought today was going to be a quick one. So let's play with some toys. First thing I'm going to do is actually just pull out, just for the heck of it, let's just get like really creepy. I shall read to you from the Megaton. So this is an occult book that talks about the goetic system of essentially calling down in different individuals to do your will and the process of that. And when you first approach this book, you're like, wow, this is some deep, dark stuff right here. Like really deep and dark. Man, I better hide this book so my parents don't think I'm like worshiping demons. Oh, that's scary. Wow, we got some scary people. We got some scary stuff. There's like weird names. What do we got here? I don't even know how to. Is that Michael? What's like Michael? That's an angel. And anafaxaton. What is anafaxaton? Tetragrammaton? What is all this? This is weird stuff. What are we? Come on. The magical ring or disc of Solomon. Okay, cool. Ooh, scary. A hexagram. Right? So, but then when you kind of look into what we're talking about here, what we're looking at, like, look what we're looking at. These are different portions of time, wheels of the year, and the deacons, quote unquote, underneath from a holographic level. First, we start with the one card that turns into the 3 deacons, but then you can break that up again because, like I told you, that this disc is not a disc. This disc is a sphere. So imagine it as a sphere, and you're looking down from the top, okay? And each one of those 36 deacons is actually a double spiral, so there's 72 of them. So right away, it's actually just doubled over the fact that you're like, wait a minute, it's actually a sphere with 2 counter-rotating, so it's 72 deacons. 36 going up, 36 going down, and they're swapped using the vortex and the key. Fun, right? And so, same idea here. If you don't understand what you're looking at, you're like, oh my gosh, this is some crazy nonsense. And like, what is all this? Well, it turns out we know what this is. These are drawn based on a symbol that's used as the key, and then you draw the sigil on the key. Like, as an example, very often is used the rose cross, right? The rose cross is used primarily for drawing sigils around the language, the Hebrew language. You get the letters and you draw the lines and you get the sigil, and that means something specific. Like, for instance, my name. And what is that? That's nothing. It's just some letters drawn around that mean a word, and that word is actually a sentence, right? And so each letter is the first letter of a word, and if you put them together, it is a sentence in another language that states a statement of my will, right? And so now, but I can just put that somewhere, and now that whole thing is in that statement, and the will is done. All right, and so at least it's put into the overworld to be processed and then may manifest physically. Right? And so that's all we're talking about. It's actually a psychological device as much as it is a magical one. And so what these are these are not names. These are not names of angels. These are not names of demons. This is, you know, and we can talk about Goetia at some point. The Goetic system is really, really beautiful, how it was derived. And the 3 magical books of Solomon is very similar to the Megaton from a slightly different perspective, because it talks about the, basically the 72 from the Shem HaMephoresh, the 72-fold name of God, which is, we talked about yesterday. So if anyone who's not familiar with the Shem HaMephoresh, just you can look at my stream from yesterday to get the kindergarten version. I'm not teaching that directly here on the stream, or yet. I haven't done that yet. But so it was just a primer. But so you'll understand what this 72-fold name is. This unspeakable name. It's unspeakable because it's not a name. Six years old, I'm digging through my dad's stuff, right? I read you the portion from Book 4. Every man is born a condemned criminal, only he doesn't know the date of his execution. But there's a line before that. The first line, I was 6 years old. My father, again, was not around. He was working, or he was elsewhere, and so I was alone a lot of the time. I'm very close with my sister, who is social, and so she was usually out with friends and whatever, and so I was typically alone most of my childhood. And I would spend that time digging through my dad's stuff. I bumped into all kinds of things I shouldn't have as a child, right? I mean, guns, magazines that you shouldn't be looking at as a kid, and drugs, all these things that I should not have been looking at or seen. And he just didn't put away enough, thinking I wasn't going to go looking. But that said, I bumped into this. Not this, because this is a brand new version. The version I had is gone. The cover was ripped off. I used it so much, it was in bad shape. It was like a first print run of Book 4 from Aleister Crowley. And so I cracked the book and I'm looking through it, and there's all this funky stuff and these symbols and this, like, these different rituals. Or there's this whole section on spiritual yoga and all this. And I'm thinking, what is this? What am I actually looking at here? And I was a kid. I was 6 years old. Okay, and so the first thing I read when I crack this book is the following line: "Existence as we know it is full of sorrow." And my talk yesterday, with respect to our beautiful soul, was the end of sorrow. And it's a very powerful technique for ending sorrow, and it's something I've shared over and over again. Wow. Well, that's so great. And you don't have to go back. The thing is that you hear what you're supposed to. Like, it's free will is an interesting conversation, because we have it but we don't, right? How can we say we have free will when we are completely 100% at the mercy of physical reality, gravity, magnetism, strong and weak, the objects around us, the form that we exist in? Like, we are defined by our limitations. It's literally what we are. When it comes to you and how is dependent upon when you are open to receiving it. That's the gist here. I wonder if there's anything else. Let's do this. I'm going to grab H.P. Blavatsky's Secret Doctrine. This is a great book. It's a short read. It really is. It's a short one. It's like hang on, I'm going to make room here. I'm just going to pull up a random page from the Secret Doctrine. This is everything I just said from the Hindi perspective. Now there's she calls it the Father, Mother of all gods, and the name of it is, I don't know exactly how to pronounce it, but Ayuhu. But basically, I opened it up to number 5. The root remains, the light remains, the curds remain, and still, Ayuhu is one. What do you mean, Michael? You said that the descent already happened, so like, what that's saying is that even though we're down here and they're up there, neither of that's true. We look up and we see a mirror and we think we're looking at another being. Our higher self looks down and sees the same thing, thinking that we're separate. And as we walk closer to that mirror, we realize, wait a minute, there is no mirror, and I am alone. And I've always been alone. It's terrifying and beautiful all at the same time when the realization comes to you. And it's, it kind of needs to be both. It's kind of like you don't get it unless you're scared at first. It's like, oh, wait. And once it dawns on you that there's nothing to be afraid of, it's like, oh, wait a minute. Wow, the freedom. All that bad stuff that happened to me never happened to me. And I don't mean that from this esoteric kind of like new age woo, like it never happened to you. No, the fact is it never happened. The fact is that our interpretation is based on this separation and our defining everything through that separation. We're at the end of time already. It's over, and we won. We're already there. I'm just going to check in on the chat. Well, that's interesting. Because when you do empty a space, there's something to fill it, and it's important to realize you do have control over what it's filled with, right? And that's the idea here. You know, when you do hear something that rings to you as true, apply the algorithm to it. That's the point. Like, so if you feel something is a right piece of information, say, okay, well, what's the opposite of that? And then look at those two opposites, consider them as one thing, and find the third opposite, and that's the truth of those two things. Take that new thing, find its opposite, apply the algorithm again. Keep doing that until you find the final truth. Every question has the same answer when you apply the algorithm enough times. And that answer is the one truth. Okay. So, I'm not sure who's still here. It's 3:30 Eastern. If you're still here, let me know. And we can have some fun. We can throw some cards. We can... somebody mentioned something about a pet reading. We can do something either personally or something really quick here to kind of look at that. I'll just put this on for now. It's kind of big, so it fits nicely underneath everything. I don't know. It fits underneath. This is neat. It's basically a hand carved version of the Mayan calendar. You know, we have an Ankh and a peace sign. And this is a very magical little piece of that used to be a ring that I now use to hold this together. And so, along with that cross on the bottom, it's a very sort of interesting kind of combination of, right? You know, if you think about what each one of these is a different doctrine that is pointing to the same truth. That's what we're talking about here. Every one of these, everything we are looking at, every observable phenomena that can be processed by you is pointing at the truth. And if it's not clear, apply the algorithm and you'll see it. Look at the divine vortex and you'll see it. Look at the order and you'll see it. It's there. And if you need help, grab the deck and tell the story, and bang, you're going to have insight into that thing you're looking into. I've done it over and over with multiple different symbol systems, religions, philosophies. It works with all of them. It's really great. Happy birthday to you. Could have a card pull. Let's see. The Prince of Cup, the airy part of water. The communication of the heart. Speaking what you're feeling. The unification of the heart and throat chakra. Isn't that beautiful? Wind and lake in the I Ching. It's wind and lake. Wanting to communicate divine love. He is the sword because he is a prince. All princes are air, all princes are swords, but he's the cup sword. So he's communicating divine love. Right? He is remember, there's 16 of these. It's a court card. These are the courts. Right, there they are. So, I'll just leave this out. I keep taking it out, I'm going to rip my cardboard. Let's see, what's a good one to leave on the screen? How about there you go. The key. So that's your random card. Here's your other random card, which is the same card. Okay. Alrighty, so that was fun. I need to stretch a little bit, pardon me. Weirdest thing, my jewelry's falling off. Like, I lost a bunch of weight really quick, and like my rings are starting to fall off. Like this ring used to be tight, like really tight. This is what, no, this is that little star and moon ring. Really loose. Doesn't fit anymore. I might have to give that away too. If it doesn't fit, what's it going to do? Sit in a box? I should just get rid of it. This one's very special though. This one right here is green for the heart chakra and is a reminder of divine love. And it also, to me, looks like an eye. So it's, you know, both, and it's not costume. That's actually, oh my gosh, the name escapes me. What's the green stone? Who's out there that's going to help me with my brain not working right now? The green stone. Oh my gosh. Wow, I guess I'm more tired than I thought. Peridot. Peridot. P-E-R-I-D-O-T. Peridot. Peridot it's a semi-precious and it's silver, so the ring's probably worth $15, but not to me. To me, it's truth. It's a reminder. It's a pointer. What are these bracelets? 7 bracelets. Each one is a different stage of the creation of the universe. From the beginning, the stars, the sky, love, animals, plants, like the whole idea, right? It's sort of like the 7. Copper, cool, you know? And it's all, these are all just kind of like pointers. These are all going away. I don't need jewelry. The vanity's done. This is going to wind up with somebody out there is going to be getting this. Somebody out there is going to be getting this. Somebody out there is going to be getting these rings. When I said I'm not shaving anymore, I'm not cutting my hair, it's time to just be honest with this work and to be truthful with the intent here, which is to recognize who I am and who I'm not. And who I am is you. Don't ever forget who's talking right now. You're talking. This is your voice. So I might as well give you your ring back. And when I'm done, I'm going to have this box. That's it. And in this box is going to be the black and white deck and the color deck. Oh, my mirror's falling off. Wait a minute. I think I know who that is. Eventually, this is going to be torn off when it's time. And it's going to be part of a really cool ritual with everybody that's involved as far as getting rid of the mirror. A few people out there know what I'm talking about. So, beautiful. That's the funniest thing I've read all day. God bless him too, because you know what? That hurts more than you think, man. Anyone out there who can agree with this, that has had a beard hair plucked or like ripped out from a ring, or I don't know. Mine is the baby, my puppy is a little baby dachshund, a long-haired dachshund. She's fierce and she likes to chew on my beard. It's not here right now, but it was there a week ago. But she likes to chew on the beard, and every once in a while she gets a couple. Man, there's only one place you can pluck a hair out worse that hurts more. The eyebrows. So, yeah. But all kidding aside, I don't know how you women do that. I have never had my eyebrows plucked in my life, and I ain't starting now. Like, really? Soda can tops? Oh, gosh. Oof. I don't know. I have something going on in my back or body today. Like, I don't know if it's my kidney or my lower back, but it's been poking for 2 days, and it's kind of, the pain's getting a little intense. But this is the box that's going to be left, and there's going to be some other tools as well that everyone's going to receive when the kit's done. That's interested in buying the kit, the 2 decks plus the 3rd deck when it's complete, plus the coins. These coins are just really designed to kind of, that's the 72-fold name. That's a couple of different ideas as far as like the names of God, so the sigils and some other things to kind of really get that, drive that point home. There's some stuff around it that are prayers relevant to each one that point to a specific verse of the Bible that, when decoded, has different information there. It's really good stuff. These are toys, but they're also holy if you use them as pentacles. If you don't, then they're just a device to help you to do your work of gematria or gematria, and to decode the name. There's 3. They have a unique purpose. One is a 4x4, one's a 5x5 square, similar to this but different. And what is it? Nothing. It's a way to play with toys. It's a way to write different words and make a sigil for that word. That's all we're talking about. And what is that? It's a sign, it's a pointer, it's a reminder. Right. And so what I'm going to do then is put this away properly, and then we'll throw some cards. And again, for those who missed it, it'll also be coming, the deck itself will be coming with a wheel for you to use in your own working. Okay, so if you want to do, if you're a reader or your own personal and you want to do readings for how you're reacting to certain times of the year, there's going to be instructions on that and other things that are going to be part of this. Put in a way that it can be marked on with a series of dry erase, so you can very easily circle the times, lay out the story. You know, you can do like the readings I taught everybody in the beginning with respect to using the deacons in your birth card and all this stuff. So that's all going to be in there as well for readers that want to use the tarot for the practical magic of learning the lower world experience before we ascend. That's what tarot is used for from a divinatory purpose. That's really what you're doing. You're looking at the lower world of the first card, and then going through that process and moving it forward. And I happen to have a Rider-Waite in here as well. In the unfortunate event that you're in a place where you don't have enough space to get everything done, it's a nice tiny thing that you could just do a quick reading. When your goal is to communicate truth, you need to be careful with the words you use. And more importantly, how you think those words will be perceived. Right? And so there's a pattern to my words. And that's designed to both confuse and enlighten. So, and with those with the ears to hear can see right through it. Because it's not a mirror, it's a window. It's not a window. How about this? It's not. So, who wants some cards thrown? That would be a cool group, like, and I don't mean this. I mean, we need to get together on a Zoom call. And everyone go out and get sheets of cardboard and a paper cutter or scissors and rulers, and let's make the deck together. I'm telling you, until it's printed, everyone could build the deck with me. And we'll do it together. I will share every step. And we can do it on a group session where we do, this is only inner order people. And we'll do, and then you go and use it to spread it to other people. Because you have to understand the story appropriately before you go spreading it, or you're going to confuse and you're going to slow the process of their awakening down, or you might speed it up. But that would really be great, and it's super cheap. This deck cost me pennies, right? I mean, I had extra card stock. I had a piece of yellow textured card stock for the thing, the outer wrapping, and the deck itself is going to be very practical from that respect, as far as being able to be folded and written on, and drawn on with a dry erase and these type things. Because it's not like a deck you shuffle to throw cards. It's, you use it to tell the story. It has one purpose. It can be used for other purposes, but it has one, and that is to wake you up. So, yeah, this is my cricket. Anyone got a cricket out there? That's fun. Yeah, just for the heck of it. I have 3 daughters, and I feel like we have an obligation to protect our daughters. And there was a when Epstein committed suicide, I made a T-shirt that said Epstein didn't kill himself. And you know, one of the reasons is because that's a conversation opener, because I wanted to remind people that he wasn't alone. And so even though this all nonsense happened, there's a big group of people out there that were along with him that are nameless. And we have to remember that. We can't forget that there's some people out there that want to harm our daughters. And so I used my cricket to make a shirt that says Epstein didn't kill himself. Like, it's fine. But I also did. Oh, I'm not gonna go there. Forget it. But yeah, I did a lot of fun shirts. I did some fun stuff. There's a local shop here that buys them and sells them. It's kind of cool. He buys them cheap. I sell it to him at like $1 or $2 above cost. I don't care. It's not about that. It's about fun. I'm never gonna get rich making T-shirts. It's not why I do it. It's so I can have what I want when I want it. Just throw a T-shirt on, press what I want, and I can walk out with my message in 10 minutes. Like, it's kind of fun. But yeah, so crafts is a cool thing, because what is crafting? But crafting is literally holy. The fact is that we receive. That's all we can do. God bestows. That's all He can do. So for us to participate in even the symbolic acts, because you're not creating anything, we're just taking stuff that's already here and transforming it into something else, right? And so that's the art of crafting. It's a holy act it's a ritual reenactment of God creating. When we take what God made and transform it into something else, right? So we don't create, we transform. God creates, we transform. Crafting is the act of transformation, which is a perfect analogy to what we are doing from the moment we're born until we die and we start on our next rung of that story, right? That whole idea is that we are going through this transition. What is a transition? A transformation from one to another. And the transition's the space in between. That middle space when it's not quite a man, but not quite a full big beast wolf. It's that middle, right? It's not like you're halfway through the turn. That's the transitionary phase. Wow. That's kind of great. Isn't that's clever? That's cute. What color was the T-shirt? Or the sweatshirt? That's very cool. God, don't mess around with me. You could decode a lot with that too. The word God and the word me. Do the numerology on those and see what the deal is there. You know, Mem was a very important letter in the language of Hebrew. It's one of the 3 mother letters. Aleph, Mem, Shin. And that's the idea of the 3 mother letters, which are the 3 elements of fire, water, and air combined to make earth. They also represent the top of the tree, right? Those 3 on the top. Those 3 that are on the top there. Let's jump to the correct diagram here. These 3 on the top are the supernal triad, the mother letters. And down here is, it's the physical is here. Everything that's manifested physically is here. Everything that's above that is not manifested physically. The court cards, the aces, all that stuff. But it also does represent physicality too. And again, I'm not here to teach Kabbalah. How dare I? But rather is to plant a garden of pomegranate seeds and hope some stuff grows. Right? Orange, cool. Red and yellow. The communication of divine will. So, cool. What color was the print? On an orange shirt, it had to have been black or white, but that would be too harsh. Hopefully they picked a color, something like, maybe even like an opposite or a flashing color to really give it, right? You use flashing colors. What a flashing color is if you take 2 colors that are opposite on the wheel, the color wheel, they flash if you look at them next to each other. It actually flashes in your eyes and can create an effect. And they use that in various forms of magical work with respect to that. Awesome. You have to send pictures as it goes. Now, where are you? Where are you? Because I'm in upstate New York, and if I were to plant a tree, I'd have to do it at just the right time, otherwise it wouldn't survive the winter. And the process of trying to get it to survive the winter at a young stage is really... So, do you know how old it was, the tree? So, that's where we are. I invite everybody who would like to. There's several people in the room right now that are already in the inner order, and there's room for more. And the goal here is to bring us all into the inner sanctum, and then to go out there and spread that. The same idea. Just telling the story of the tarot, telling the story of people's lives, telling the story of where they came from. And now there's people out there that don't want to read the tarot, that don't want to learn the system and algorithms and codes and vortexes and divine orders and all that. That's fine. But if you do come to the experience, because you don't need any of that. That's the beauty of the inner sanctum. You don't need to learn anything. You don't need to be in the inner order to be in the inner sanctum. You don't need to be in the outer order to be in the inner sanctum. You simply need to be. And that's the only way to get there, is to simply be. So it's available to everyone. It's invite only, but I can't invite you in. But that said, if you do have the experience, regardless of all this, you've worked with myself or somebody later on that's going to learn this and present it, and you've gained the experience, at least share it with people. Hey, I had this experience, and you should too. And here's how to do that. Because that's what we're here to do. 4 to 5? Okay, good. So it can withstand some stuff. I'm going to be heading out in a little bit, but I just wanted to say something. My children are in South Florida, and some people very close to me have family that are in the literal bullseye of this storm. And they're going to be facing 12-foot storm surges. One of those people is not leaving their home because she's an alcoholic and won't leave her alcohol. And she's in a 1-story house. She's an old lady. She won't get out. So I just want everyone to put some good vibe out. Okay, love, thank you so much for popping in. I really mean it. And I'm going to be reaching out to you tomorrow, okay? So thank you for popping in. And when your name comes to me, I'll let you know, and I shall grant you your name. So put out a good vibe. Yeah, please do. And pray the right way. Don't pray asking for them to be safe. Pray for the acknowledgement that they already are. Okay, does that ring the truth in that? You're not asking for them to be safe. You're acknowledging that they already are. Thank you, Lauren. They're 3 beautiful girls. We've been through a lot of hurricanes down there. I went to high school in South Florida. I started in Brooklyn, but I graduated in Florida. I got married in Florida. I had kids in Florida. I got divorced in Florida. And so I've been through... My first hurricane in Florida was fucking Andrew. I don't know if anyone remembers Andrew. That was in 93, 92, 91, 92, 92 maybe. Andrew was not a joke. And I have Gloria as my first memory as a little child. My dad went looting. And he took me with him. I was a little kid. I don't remember how old I was. I was a little kid. And he took me with him. And he was robbing stuff out of a McCrory's because the window had busted open from the storm from Gloria during the eye. So that's my dad. That's where, God bless him. He's like, okay, so we're in the middle of this like horrible hurricane. It's like knocking stuff down, and we're in the eye, so it's calm. So let's go rob stuff. Like, where does that thinking come from? You know? Anyway, so here I am walking with my dad home with a bunch of stuff he stole. God. Anyway, this never happened. Just to the people who are listening, this never happened. I'm making this up. I'm actually lying. None of this is true. And so we're walking home. And then the eye wall hit, right? So just remember, it's a storm, And in the middle of that storm is an eye where you could literally drop a feather and it'll fall straight down. There's not a breath of wind. It is the scariest calm you'll ever experience. The sky is as blue as it's ever been. It's perfect weather. And so we're walking home in this beautiful, perfect weather with all this stuff. But now remember, as soon as that you're here, and as soon as that eye wall actually hits you again, you're at full speed all at once. So it's not like before where you're here and the storm's coming and it eases in. Once you're in the eye, when it passes, you're hitting the full storm, right? So we're walking home. And the eye wall hits, and my father is literally hanging onto a pole, and me and my feet are off the ground. Like we almost died, and that woke him up. To holy crap! Like I really just put my son in danger overland, like to go steal some stuff. Probably looking back in hindsight to sell it for drug money. It's gonna come to me soon. I already decoded your last name as the a free. Frank or Francis in Italian means freedom, like a man who is free. And in Azio is Italian for the Asian people. And so I wonder like where that came. But that's not where I got the name from, or where it's going to come from. It's going to come from it's going to be a divine kind of channeled thing. That's where Shushu came from, for Shushu. So, but okay, so. Just put it out there that everything's fine, everyone's going to be okay, and even though that she made this ridiculous decision to not leave her home, that she'll be safe, and thankfully she's safe, and thankfully she made it through the storm okay, and it's going to be a good lesson to her with the storm surge, a 12-foot storm surge. Your ceiling's probably 8 to 10 feet tall. Just put that into perspective. And it rushes in and rushes out pretty quick, but still, it's the term that was used on the Weather Channel was unsurvivable. And she's not escaping. She decided not to evacuate, not to plan, and so yeah. Thankfully, my children who are in Boca Raton are safe. They're going to be okay. Although a tornado hit like 3 miles up the road from their house. I mean. Just hours ago, I was glued to the TV for literally 5 minutes before I hit the button to start the stream. I was stressing. But it looks like they're going to be completely out of the blue, couple 3-4 inches of rain, and then right across the coast, straight line across is absolute devastation. 12 feet storm surges. People are gonna. It's not going to be good. And so just put it out there that we're going to be all right, and people are going to be okay, and regardless of your opinion of the people of Florida, of their governor, of any of that nonsense, forget about politics, forget about religion, forget about all that. Those are human beings. That's you, and you need help, and you're going to need help in a couple days bad. This storm's going to sit over that state for 3 days pouring rain. That's how slow the son of a gun's moving. Are you kidding? And they're going to need help, even if it's just prayer. So thank you to everybody for listening to that. And just to put it out there, anyone who's interested in working with me on this reading, there's a few people who have already expressed an interest. I'm going to be talking to some people over the next several days to do that. And some other good stuff going on as well. Some couple stuff that we're going to sit down and talk together. They're not here tonight, unfortunately, but that's okay. I'll be speaking with them later. And we're going to try to maybe find some truth in their love. I feel pretty good about it. And that said, if anyone has any subjects, again, because now we're kind of going to be leaning in toward that playtime in the beginning of the stream. So, what toys do you like playing with? Do you want to play with some I Ching? Did my internet go down? Am I up? I'm not sure if I just looked like the stream dropped. Am I still connected? If you're still here, let me know, because it looks like my stream dropped. But anyway, Shushu, you have one coming. Missy, you have one coming. Lauren, you have 2 coming. And I'm not going to be able to send them until I get some money to send them. Almost crashed. Okay. Yeah, it looked like it disconnected and then reconnected. I dropped a few frames and then it's fine. Now I'm back to 3 milliseconds. All right, we're good. So Okay. Missy, I'm going to get with you personally to kind of figure out which one's going to gel with you best. Lauren, I think the ones that I picked you're going to love. I showed them here on the stream. Let me show you your birthday present here. This on top is the this is Deviant Moon, so this is not part of that. I just happen to have it in that box. But this is your birthday present. And what it's going to be is the Tarot of the Abyss and the Lightseer. And now again, the artwork is similar, so I like the fact that they're both kind of lined art. One's black and white, one's color. And it is very definitely markedly a feminine energy. And I loved reading with them for that reason, especially the Abyss. And just look at her Justice card. You see the scales in the eye? Come on. She sees the world through the scales. This is good stuff. Look at her 10 of Pentacle. Does that talk about the story of time, right? Come on. Gorgeous. Just gorgeous. Okay, so happy birthday, love, and thank you for being part of my stream here, and thank you for being part of this beautiful truth that we're all trying to find. You know where I bumped into Lauren? Both of us were trying to read cards for people on Omegle, and we bumped into each other, and we both did a reading for each other. That's how that started. That was completely synchronistic, accidental. So I hope that helps you along your path to learning this art and to sharing the truth with people. And we'll go from there. Okay, everybody, thank you so much for tonight. I appreciate it. And tomorrow it's going to be a different format, and we're going to start with toys, so it's going to be fun. And in the meantime, then, I'm going to be reaching out to a couple of you about some things that are going on in the next several days, and obviously you do the same. Any ideas, questions, contribution, feedback. Otherwise, please like the video, please comment. It makes a big difference, and I'll see everybody tomorrow. Have a good night, guys.